Good evening, Belize, and welcome to day one of two of the Belize Taiwan Career Forum, which is taking place in two time zones. Today, July 14th and July 15th in Belize, and July 15th and 16th here in Taiwan. This forum was created as a space that provides Belizeans with an opportunity to connect with industry professionals that will be beneficial for all involved in an effort to build connections and eventually build a better Belize and Taiwan. We have mentor speakers here today on and joining us online. And these mentors and speakers are from the health, IT, environmental sciences, education, engineering, and business fields to share their experiences and to provide guidance and advice regarding requirements to join the workforce both in Belize and Taiwan. So we encourage you as we go through today's forum, think of questions that you have regarding joining the workforce in these fields, and you can ask when we have the question segment. Now, to accommodate as many people as possible, this is a hybrid event, so we are conducting it in two venues here in Taiwan. In northern Taiwan, at National Yangming Chiaotong University, southern Taiwan at Kunshan University, and also online. So thank you for joining us via YouTube. And to begin with today, as with all things, we do like to honor our country, and we'd like to begin today with the national anthem. So please join me in welcoming Benoit Koi, who will be playing the steel pan, and Miss Ranisha Williams, who will be singing the national anthem. and Mrs. Williams for that beautiful rendition of our national anthem. Now we'd like to take this time to welcome our honored guests, Professor Li Wei Cho, the Deputy President of International Affairs at National Yangming Chiao Tung University, and Dr. Candice Pitts, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary from the Embassy of Belize here in Taiwan. Welcome and thank you for being with us. To begin with, we'd like to give a warm welcome to Professor Li Wei Cho to give his remarks.
Hi everyone, can everyone hear me? Okay. Ambassador Dr. Peets and friends and colleagues here in Taipei, Tainan, and also in Belize, good morning and good evening. My name is Li Wei Zhou. I'm the Deputy Director here in Office of International Affairs here at NYCU, National Yangming Chiao Tung University. And first of all, on behalf of our university, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to join this year's Belize Taiwan Career Forum. This is a great opportunity for us. I would really like to thank the organizing committee for reaching out to us, especially our alumni, and provide us with this opportunity to contribute and using this facility for this year's event. As an education institute, one of the top priority for our university is to provide education and skills for the students. And not only during their time of study here, but also the career development and also the future success for our graduates. And probably some of you already know that our university merged in 2021. That was a collaboration between engineering and medical field. So this is one of the uniqueness. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you a video of our university. And hopefully we can see this online here.
Have you ever imagined what the future will look like? We can do more than just look up at the universe. Big data can completely change the way we drive cars. Energy efficiency can be rocket high. Nanotechnology can solve the mystery of genetic diseases. In 2021, National Yangming Chiao Tung University was born after a merger. Now it would have new goals and responsibilities. Welcome to a new era. Through our heritage, innovation, and sustained effort, we push forward the cultivation plan whereby we pick everyone's brain for a visionary future. Communication networks, energy, finance and education sectors become more intelligent with research and development in technology. Industry development and quality of life are taken to the next level. In the area of AI healthcare and advanced medical equipment, big data helps to create an integrated system in which people always come first. We don't just extend lifespans, we live better and healthier lives. We groom physician engineers and medical doctors across the country and promote cross-disciplinary collaboration for a sustainable future. While focusing on medical and scientific progress, we also care for human values. We keep exchanging ideas with our worldwide partners. We rethink the role of a university in our society and work towards the goal of sustainability. NYCU has inherited traditions from 2 universities in pursuit of innovative breakthroughs. We will plan ahead in the era of post-COVID-19 and seize the opportunities in restructuring of worldwide supply chains. Our insights are refined to the last detail at the fastest pace possible. we have transformed in no time. Where is the future? The future is here. For infinity and beyond.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our video for the introduction. Thank you all once again, and hope everybody enjoyed the video. And I'm looking forward to the discussion and presentation later today. Thank you.
For your remarks. Now let us welcome Dr. Candice Augusta Pitts from the Embassy of Belize, the ambassador here in Taiwan. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Lee, to our Belizeans at home, our Belizeans online, and our Belizeans present in this room. Thank you for this opportunity to offer a few remarks at your inaugural Belize-Taiwan Career Forum. Let me commence by congratulating the coordinators and the members of the Belize-Taiwan Association for this visionary and innovative initiative. Events such as this demonstrate precisely what we need from our nationals who receive tertiary level education. They can help us, and by us I mean Belizeans, to devise ways to help develop each other and to help develop Belize. Ever and anon, our nationals leave to study, and we are left unaware of their studies and their training. So this professional forum prefers a great platform to highlight these talents as well as a great avenue for our paraprofessionals here in Taiwan to connect with experts from relevant industries in Belize. I listened keenly to the Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Investment when he was last here in Taiwan. He said that Belize is at full employment. Aside from those Belizeans who are not seeking work or perhaps are in transition between jobs, most Belizeans are employed. The minister also said that they're aggressively, meaning the government, aggressively seeking investments for Belize. As you're aware, next month, Belize will host its second Trade and Investment Summit on the island of San Pedro. We anticipate that members of the business community here in Taiwan will also attend that summit and continue to explore areas of commercial opportunities between Belize and Taiwan. The BPOs, for instance, have become leading industries in Belize. Belizeans are not only call operators at these BPOs, they are now supervisors and managers and other higher level positions. There are also investments in other industries, which means Belize will need skilled workers for these jobs. And in case you are unaware, as educated Belizeans, you are in a better position than most to be qualified for these jobs. Of course, there is also the possibility, if you are so inclined, to create your own businesses and perhaps employ other Belizeans while you're at it. In any event, we do hope that you utilize the opportunities you have received to further your studies in Taiwan to at some point and in some way contribute to Belize's development. That should be each of our moral imperative. While I cannot stay for the duration of the forum, I am quite honored to be at the inauguration of such a meaningful initiative. As I mentioned prior, I ardently support this initiative, and I once again thank all the coordinators, the hosts, the MC, and all the participants who are making this event possible. I wish you all the best, and may this initiative be fruitful, meaningful, and effective. Thank you.
Ambassador Pitts. Now for our final opening remarks, let's welcome Ms. Melody Wagner, who is the President and Representative of the Belize Taiwan Association.
Good morning and good evening to those joining us from abroad, to our special guests, Dr. Candice Bitts, Ambassador of Belize to Taiwan, Professor Li Wei Cho, Deputy Vice President of the International Affairs at the National Yang Ming Chiao Tou University, our mentors, Belizean residents, and all of our amazing volunteers. I'm happy to be here to see this massive idea come to life. The Career Forum comes from what we, the steering committee, identified as a knowledge gap that the average graduate is faced to force at the end of every transition point. This curated space will facilitate you with responding to the question of what. We hope that by the end of this event, you will have a well-informed answer to the question of what's next in your life's journey. Over the course of this forum, you will hear experiences from people that were once in your shoes, or perhaps still are, about what opportunities exist and actions you can consider taking to propel you into your desired space. We identified and collaborated with professionals in Belize and Taiwan who are able to talk from experience about their fields, what it may take to score your dream job, and what advice they have for you to get there. I hope that each person present here today is able to take away at least one lesson or piece of advice, some inspiration that can contribute to your personal or professional development. This is a free space to learn, explore, and engage. And I hope we all take something of value from this experience. Thank you for taking the time to invest in our community.
Wagner. Before we continue, we're going to take a group picture. So those of you who are here and online, the speakers, please turn on your cameras and we will take a picture before we continue. So at the count of 3, please smile and we will take a picture. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. And with that, we conclude our opening remarks. A small announcement that the embassy is working along with other embassies, and they will be having a basketball tournament coming up soon. I believe it is on July 30th. So if you are a basketball player or you're interested, please visit the Belize Taiwan Association to contact if you would like to join. Now, we would also like to take the time to thank both of our hosting universities, National Yang Ming Chiao Tung University and Kunshan University in Tainan. Thank you very much for opening your doors to us, for us to be able to have this event that will benefit both Belizeans back home, Belizeans here in Taiwan, and hopefully help to develop both countries on our relationships. And with that, we are going to go what we came here for. We're going to begin with the actual event today. And with that, I would like to invite Ms. Laila Estefan, who will be introducing the environmental sciences segment.
Thank you, Amador. So before we get initiated with environmental sciences, we're actually going to delve into the topic of health. We know how within the last 2 to 3 years, it has become even more of a priority with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator for this panel. Here we have Mr. Geraldo Puck. He is a registered nurse. He was actually working at the KHMH right during the COVID-19 pandemic. He was there at the forefront of full PPE gear. And now he's actually in Taiwan pursuing his medical degree, and he will conclude that the following year. So please, Mr. Geraldo Puck, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Stefan. At approximately 14,500 kilometers away from each other, I am elated to be with each and every one of you, especially those that are logged in via our social media platforms, and also physically at our venues within Taipei and Tainan City. I am Geraldo. I'm a junior ICDF scholar that came to Taiwan in 2021. And like Dr. Stefan said, I am enrolled pursuing a degree in medicine. Today, I am pleased to welcome each and every one of you once again. And more than that, I am so proud to hold open this panel with our accompanying three powerful professionals that are with us today. My advice is to keep notes and be prepared for our last 7-minute portion of our segment where we will be having a Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can post them on our social media platforms, or if you're in person, you could submit your questions so that we can be gladly answering them at that section. Okay, so this is what we came here for, right? So our healthcare, especially post-COVID, it grants us the opportunity to explore different dimensions into the facets of and the importance of what health plays between our communities. And more importantly, how professionals and aspiring professionals like many of us can play a big role in how we develop our country. Um, you see, our society is filled with unwritten rules that has molded each and us constantly. However, I am so happy to invite our first panelist, who is a trendsetter and an influential thinker. He's paving his own pathway as a physician and scientist. Let us welcome Dr. Paul Morgan.
Pleasant good morning to you all in Taiwan. Thank you for the kind introduction, Geraldo. And to those of us in the West, pleasant good evening. I am Paul, hailing from the beautiful capital city of Belmopan. I was born and raised in the Jewel by my amazing parents, Paul and Cynthia Morgan. In fact, and also my Uncle James Lewis. My parents are actually now experiencing what is called the emptiness syndrome, as my two younger siblings are also residing in Taiwan, pursuing their doctoral studies. In fact, my little brother is about to defend his PhD dissertation on Monday, so congratulations to Dr. Morgan, Juan Morgan. Currently, I am also a PhD candidate at the Icahn School of Medicine at the Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. I also serve as a research associate for Illuminant Surgical, a neurosurgical startup company based in Boston, Massachusetts. And I have been an adjunct instructor of chemistry and biology at the University of Belize for the past 10 years now. And I still do actively mentor undergraduate students with their thesis research projects. I must say that I'm truly blessed for this opportunity to convene in your presence today. I am so proud of the organizers who tirelessly ironed out the logistics of this forum spanning across multiple time zones. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed. Finally, then, I am very much looking forward to our intellectual exchange tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. And as we continue to dwell within the healthcare, we know that within healthcare, there's many challenging pathways where embracing change and threat can be doubting. But our next speaker is not only a living testament, but also a constant inspiration as she continues to travel the world with the willingness to share her experience irregardless of location, because her heart is always with and for Belize. Let us welcome our second panelist, Dr. Laila Estefan.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Mr. Pluk. Good morning to my fellow colleagues and friends, and good evening to all the attendants from Belize. It's a great honor and pleasure that I can be a part of this great panel among all these great panelists. Just a little bit of an introduction of myself. My name is Laila Stefan. I originally grew up in Belize City. Towards the latter years in my life, I did grow up in Ladyville. I pursued my medical degree at the University of San Carlos of Guatemala, and I continued to work there for approximately 2 years before venturing to Mexico for some clinical rotations and finally returning to Belize to be a part of the medical community in my home country. It was at KHMH that I had the opportunity to work alongside Mr. Puk during the COVID-19 pandemic. At the same time, we were awarded the ICDF scholarship. I then came to this beautiful university, National Yang Ming Chiao Cheng University, and was enrolled in the International Health Program, which has been one of the most amazing experiences because you get to connect with so many perspectives from different countries. I'm sure all attendants at universities here in Taiwan would share this perspective. You have classmates from virtually all different continents. And this teaches you not just perspectives and culture, but to broaden your expectations and to also learn how to try to improve your own home country based on what you see. Like I mentioned, throughout my personal and my professional journey, I always have had the need to find a way to give back to Belize. So recently, an initiative has been started along with other Belizeans called the Public Health Alliance of Belize, where we are trying to push the transmission of public health research and translate it into policies and communication with stakeholders. So everyone who's interested in public health research, I do encourage for us to connect because in numbers there are greater power. So without further ado, thank you once again, and I'll hand over back to you, Mr. Puk.
Thank you, Dr. Stefan. And so while we continue to explore healthcare, right? We know that many endless pathways exists along with challenges. However, we know that self-development, it plays a huge and vital role within the art, within this artistic village that healthcare is, right? So our next panelist is of the indispensable school of level up mindset. He pushes beyond the limits and is always representing our jewel in every single step of the way. Let me introduce to you Mr. Antonio Coyoc.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Geraldo. Good morning to everybody here present. Let me introduce myself. I've been with the government, with the Ministry of Health for the past 24 years. I started off in 1999, where I graduated from the Bliss School of Nursing, one of the old school. I got my degree in practical nursing. And then in 2000, I graduated from the University of Belize with my midwifery degree. So I'm a nurse. Originally, I'm a nurse midwife. I worked for almost 11 years in the public health section. I then came to Taiwan in 2011 to 2015, where I pursued my degree in international healthcare management. I must say I was one of the lucky ones that came and got 2 degrees. I obtained my bachelor's and master's at the same time. I then went back home. I was then the coordinator and the director for the HIV program for the Ministry of Health and the tuberculosis clinic. I got promoted to the northern part of the country as the hospital administrator. And being there for 3 years, I got promoted again to the acting regional health manager for the north. I was one of the ones that had to work with the COVID crisis. I guess along the way we could, some of the questions I could talk a little bit more about it. And then I applied to this beautiful university, which I am studying now, which I'm pursuing my PhD in international health. Just a little bit brief background of myself. Welcome to everybody, and I hope and I thank the organizers for this forum, and I thank the ambassador as well for being here and our director as well. And I hope we all learned from this. But before we continue, I just want to say, for us to move forward, the way I have been moving forward is you have to have passion for what you're doing, right? So I just want to open the floor with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Koyok, for that inspirational start there. And welcome to our three panelists. I hope each and every one of you is ready because we have so much to dialogue on, starting from the inception of what is a professional, right? So I'm not sure if each of you know, but our Ministry of Health has a new website and it has so much information available currently. And I was attracted about at this post that was made, right? And it is highlighting the vision that the Ministry of Health has, which states that the quality healthcare and the well-being for all now and beyond is essential, right? And then it got me thinking because it calls the attention of upcoming professionals and young students that have a vision on how they can become a health or they can integrate themselves within the healthcare sector. So it got me thinking, is there a term called a calling, or is it basically you are built towards getting into the healthcare? I don't know what you think about that, Dr. Morgan.
Well, that's a really good question. And in short, I do think that we all have callings. Each of us have our own calling, uh, um, and I think that this calling really is driven by that innate passion, that drive, that fire, that is relentless. And so, at the end of the day, we do what we do because we love to do what we do, and that is what we were called for. In short.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically an art, right? And what about you, Dr. Stefan? What do you have to say in terms of professional and schooling?
I think everyone is on a different career path and different obstacles, not only in your personal but also in your professional growth, can oftentimes not allow you to, you know, follow such a streamlined process. I think one of the most important features or key particular mentions that people can have is to be able to adapt. For example, last 3 years ago, I bet none of us could have imagined that a pandemic would have been the reality, but we adapted. We were forced to drive into something that Darwin would say in his theory. Apart from that, I believe also that you should find something that ignites and passion and gives you passion. I do believe that healthcare workers have this particular need. We know oftentimes, and this was something that was reflected in my thesis, the burnout that is present in the healthcare professionals in Belize. We saw 1 in 2 healthcare workers were burnt out. So we need to really also find time for ourselves, but we also need to find something that gives us passion, that inspires us to wake up every morning.
Agreed. There must be a balance, right, between finding it as an art and also finding it as a science and also the self-care that is involved with it. And Mr. Koyok, what do you have to say in terms of those professionals that are out there and they're thinking, is healthcare for me?
Well, I think I would be a perfect example. I've been with the Ministry of Health for 23 years, like I said, going on 24. But like I mentioned at my introduction, I think, and both my colleagues mentioned it, I think passion is something that's very important here. If you have that drive to do what you want to do, and it's you're gonna self motivate, right? And that is what's gonna make you feel that it's worth it, right? At the beginning, I remember in my college I did business, and at the end I'm like, no, I want to branch off in health, and you can. All right, so it's just a matter of having that passion and that drive to motivate yourself to move forward. Never say you can't, like always say I can and move forward, right?
Yes, totally agree. And since we already started with the requirements in terms of the drive, the passion, we know that there's many factors that are involved before someone makes the decision, right? So what are the educational or possible educational goals that our youths can explore ahead of time? Dr. Morgan?
Well, in terms of goals, I think that's a very broad and diverse. There are very many possibilities there. I think that um, in retrospect, coming from a developing country like Belize, I think that our exposure to all that is possible out there is a little bit limited. And when we really leave Belize and move to like a first world country like Taiwan, a very developed country, like the United States, I think our eyes really open up to the possibilities and the opportunities that we can potentially explore. I say this as a background framework, because I could remember in high school that I really thought that was the terminal opportunity to choose between science and business. And like Mr. Koyak said, well, it doesn't have to be a choice. Then there are options to mix things at every step of the way along the way. And so I migrated to the States, when I was 18, and that's where I did my undergraduate at the University of the Ozarks. And I could remember that I really enjoyed chemistry and biology. And I thought to myself, will I choose to be a researcher, a PhD type researcher, or should I go into medicine? And for a long time, even up into early adulthood, I thought that this was mutually exclusive, being either a research doctor or a physician. And so it was until my time in Taiwan as a medical student, I realized that there are physician scientists. And in fact, the best institutions in the world only have physician scientists. You must be both. In fact, to push medicine, to develop new treatment plans and medications and opportunities in healthcare, in public health, it requires a very curious mind. It requires a very knowledgeable background, and so this is really what forces physicians to also become, research scientists. Whether this training is formal through a further advanced degree, or whether this is, through practical training and elevating yourself up in the ranks in the institution, I think that there are possibilities. So, lastly, I just want to say that I think that at home, our concept as well of what a doctor is really to treat patients and just to see patients and do night shifts and wear scrubs. But I must say that that is just the surface of what it is to really explore the possibilities of being a medical doctor. In fact, here at Mount Sinai and even at Isha University, as you grow in the institution towards your tenure, you see less and less of patients, and you do a lot more of mentorship. You do a lot more of organizing and elevating the institution. And so my eyes really opened up, as I left Belize, and I thought to myself, I want to come back home and do this. I want a medical school in Belize. I want us to start our first residency program there. And my eyes really lit up as I became exposed to the vast amount of possibilities that one can do. So finally, then in conclusion, just to touch particularly on what opportunities are available, you could pursue the physician route, the scientist route, the physician scientist route, a public health route, a business mixed with healthcare route. You could pursue religious studies in medicine. You could pursue a pharmacy route. You could pursue nursing. There are many, very many possibilities and combinations to grow in the healthcare field. It's innumerous and plenty some. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
And just to follow up on Dr. Morgan's excellent comments and observations, I think you forgot law as one of the possibilities. I actually had two professors back in medical school. They were both pediatrician lawyers. And he said, because especially nowadays, there's a lot of medical, legal kind of situations. So you should be equipped and you should be prepared to handle those situations. I think you see in the US too, there are specific lawyers that are there to pursue pharmaceutical companies as well as physicians. but also the importance of being able to take what you're exposed to and finding a way to implement it back home. I think that's one thing that we all share in common, everyone in this room, everyone online, this passion, this patriotism to give back to Belize. And in my recent conversations with the Medical Council and Association in Belize, I brought this up in terms of why don't we do more research, and is there a way that we can make this a more research-driven culture? And something that you have to admire about Taiwan is that Taiwanese people find solutions. If there is a problem, they're going to try to make an efficient solution. And how do they find the solution? Based on evidence, based on concrete facts, because facts and evidence are really stubborn. You cannot really argue with it. So in all our fields, whether it's international relations, business, medicine, whatever your field is, make sure that whatever you're proposing has some facts to it, not based on empirical history or because this other person did it that way, so this must be the way going forward. Be innovative and challenge any idea that you feel should be challenged. So I'll give back the floor to the moderator.
I just want to say real
Go
quickly
ahead, go ahead.
that Stefan really touched the law part, and she filled in the gap there. And indeed, there are physicians who are equally lawyers as well, fully trained in law. So I just want to reiterate that point there.
Yeah, and that's why I like the term community, you know. It's a village by its own because no healthcare worker is by itself. It's he or she is not an island. You have to be trained by someone and with someone, right? So in terms of everything and the goals, the aspirations and the careers, Mr. Koyok, what is your thoughts of this in Belize? What can Belizeans say, or what can they do to ensure that they can prepare?
Okay, the first for me, the first thing is like have an open mind. Um, don't be the kind of negative person saying, oh, you know what, in my country there's no vacancies, there's no job. There is. It's just us. We have to put the we have to have the drive, the motivation to look for these jobs. All right. And I to just to add a little bit of what my colleagues were saying. I mean, we keep using the word passion. If you have a passion for what you're doing, you're gonna look for that job. You're gonna look for that opportunity, and you're gonna do it. All right. Like never say no. It's like I keep saying it. I mean that is my drive. That is what has me so far. I mean, people might say, how comes you're with the ministry for 24 years? I'm like, I love my job. And just working and working my way up, I could actually say, I could pat myself on the back and say, you've worked hard for what you have. You've worked hard for where you are. And especially being here now in this university is opening my mind more. Like my colleague Lila said, research. I mean, evidence-based. It's the way to go. I mean, we tend to just. I mean, COVID was a perfect example. With COVID, we learned. I mean, the public health component got wider. Now everybody's thinking, hey, you know what? I mean, COVID was here, and let's think different now. I mean, COVID opened up our minds to different views and so forth. So let's not be negative. And I always say I want to go back. Yes, I want to go back to my country because it has to come from within us to go back. I spoke to several persons that are here and like, oh, Belize doesn't have anything. Why am I going to? Yes, we do. We do have. Only with COVID, there was approximately 120 doctors that were hired. They were hired, and so the jobs are there. I mean, with technology now, when it comes to technology and work, I mean, we have a good relationship with Taiwan as well. I mean, this brought us together in a component of technology. We have persons that are coming here to Taiwan that are being trained to be radiologists. I mean, the field is wide. I mean, and COVID opened up this opportunity for all this. But for us on our own, we have to say, you know what? I want to do this. I have the passion for this. I want to go forward with this, and not let's stay like in an island. Isolate ourselves from the reality. Right.
Agreed. Thank you so much, Mr. Koyok. And I'm glad that you brought on the talking about our population back at home, right? Because as you know, I'm not sure if you know, but the potential participants in our labor force are actually between the ages of 15 and 64 years of age. And they account for almost approximately 66.8%. This is according to the 2020 statistics. What can students returning home or those that are already pursuing their careers in some part of the world and they're thinking of going back home, because we talk about going back home, right? So what can these students expect when they get home? Will they expect, this grand offer? What are the offers? What is the inside? Maybe Dr. Stefan, can you help us here?
Sure, I can speak from a clinical perspective in terms of those students that are graduating from medical school with your general medical degree, especially in ISHO, like the university that you're in currently, Mr. Pook. The current requirements for that would require the examinations, the CAMC examinations, which are the General Caribbean Medical Council examinations, and also 1 year clinical internship at the tertiary level hospital in Belize, which is KHMH. I had to do a 6-month internship during my transition from Guatemala to Belize. And I remember at first being extremely reluctant. I was already practicing for 2 years and having to return to the internship program where we know it's difficult. You have sleepless nights, you get a misery of a pay. But at the end of the day, I think it was one of the most valuable experiences because you really get to integrate yourself to the healthcare system. And you also get to learn in a high stress environment, which many people need that exposure to. So I believe that it was a very rewarding experience. And now Belizeans have even more opportunities. For example, with the launch of the medical program at the University of Belize, which is supposed to be launching this year, and also with the plans of developing the tertiary level hospital in Belmopan, because this will not only function as a tertiary hospital covering what Western Regional was doing, but also serve as a teaching institution. Now, speaking to members of the Ministry of Health with Dr. Polanco, with other directors, I brought this up in terms of how can we recruit more healthcare professionals in Belize, because one of the most important factors is that we don't have enough. We have the job vacancies, but we don't have enough doctors and we don't have enough nurses. So the medical school is one solution. The second one, we realized that any educational journey has expenses associated. Once, as long as a medical program, which can last anywhere from 5 to 8 years, depending on your school, has different costs associated. So having scholarship programs, there are the Cuban scholarships, there's the Taiwanese scholarships, and there's also different scholarships for Mexico, for the US, not so many as we would like to say, but also I would encourage people to explore in Europe as well. I have several colleagues that have graduated in Guatemala that are actually in Germany right now, and they are able to really integrate into the healthcare system. And Taiwan's healthcare system, being one of the top ranked in the world, actually is quite similar to the German healthcare system. The NHI was built with the German model in mind. So once again, I think that there are opportunities if you do decide to pursue a medical career. In terms of clinical practice, you will have a requirement to do some sort of internship. If you return as a specialist, this usually is not the case. You can skip that sort of internship. And in Belize, we have the clause that you can work in both private as well as public institutions. Some countries do not allow that. So I think we have a lot of benefits in Belize, and we can all contribute in a way or another. So, yeah.
Mhm. What is your take on it, Dr. Morgan?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that one of the things I think we need to continue to improve is to really create an environment, a nourishing environment to embrace our Belizeans who want to come back home. I think this isn't only unique for the healthcare sector. I know that there are a lot of Belizean graduates, young, in their late 20s, early 30s, who have a lot to contribute, who would take half the opportunities they have outside to come back home. And so I think there is a real need still to really have some formal acknowledgement for the opportunities to for Belizean graduates to really transition back home and fitting into the workplace. I am just talking also about my experience, and while I did return home twice between my periods of training, I didn't have a lot of troubles getting employment. Becoming employed. It took me a few months, and each time maybe about three months or so. But I do know a lot of students who have a hard time still becoming employed. So I understand that perspectives are different, that there may be the jobs out there, that there may be opportunities out there. But I think this requires then maybe a formal, conduit or opportunity to really disseminate this kind of information out there, whether that be through Facebook groups or WhatsApp, or through some social media. I think more people need to be aware of the opportunities out there, and at home they really need to prepare this nourishing environment, an inviting environment for us to transition back home. I think if we do that, a lot more talented Belizeans will really want to return and stay home. And I want to end the question, my part of this question, with something that I observed while I was a medical student in Taiwan. I enjoyed talking to my instructors, my preceptors, and I would always ask them where they did their training, and they would tell me, well, I went to NTU, I trained at, Cheng Kong Hospital and so on. And then they would always say, I did a fellowship in hand surgery, or I did a fellowship in brain, in neurosurgery at, Mayo Clinic or MD Anderson or the Mount Sinai as well. And I would ask each of them, and this is over different days throughout different conversations, and I would ask them, well, what made you return home? Why did you come home when you had the opportunity to be an assistant professor and all the opportunities that could be afforded to you outside your home? And they all really told me the same story, that at home the offer was so grand, it was better than anything else that was outside. And when you think about it, even though the offer was better at home than outside, they admitted that they would have taken half the offer outside, half the offer home that was offered to them outside, just to be home, just to be around their family, just to be in the land of their birth. And I feel the same way. I think that if we are all fairly given opportunities to come back home and contribute, we wouldn't do it for the money. We wouldn't do it for anything else but the love of our birth home. So that's my take on that question.
Okay, thank
And
you.
to follow
Mr.
up
Koyok, do
on
you have any contributing information? Or yeah, Dr. Lyra, go ahead.
I'll just jump in quickly before Mr.
Yes.
Koyak takes over. Following on Dr. Morgan's comment about returning home, I do encourage, however, if you do get the opportunity to expose yourself, whether it's through pursuing a graduate study, try to gain some work experience in that setting if possible. During my first year at Yangming, during my master's program, I did an internship and consultancy role at a biotech company. Biotech, we basically do research for development of new drugs, and we also do clinical trials, and if a product is approved, we then follow them up. So my current role is actually still with the company after graduating last year. And many times these internships, these part-time positions can transition into full-time roles given the opportunity. And to be quite frank, my Chinese is not very good. So the fact that you are able, as an international, as a foreigner, to find opportunities in Taiwan, it's very much possible. So I encourage people to try to gain work experience where you are. There's so much that you can absorb, so much that you can see, and then you can find ways that these systems can be implemented back home. So on that note, I'll follow up with Mr. Koyak.
I totally agree with my colleagues, but let's think about doing that internship, but doing it back home. like volunteering, not go like some people might say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go back home. There's nothing there for me. Yes, there is. You could go and you could volunteer, like at the hospitals. If it's nursing, you could actually volunteer as a nurse at the hospital, and that is where you pick up your skills, and you always lean on somebody that is a senior. Like, I mean, from experience, we've had students that have gone back home and work, and they tend to be going there and like they know it all. No, don't be a know it all. Just go there, tag along somebody, a senior at that work that you're working with, a supervisor and so forth, and learn from them. You can learn from them along with your because we go back learning all these modern stuff here. Let's use Taiwan, and you could go back and you could use those skills, but you just don't go back saying, oh, I know. It's not the way to do it. Yes, Belize has its own mechanisms and techniques of doing stuff in the hospitals, in the nursing component, but you have to yes, you learn from each other, and you mix your skills. You mix your skills with home and here. But like I say, then never go back and play the role of know it all. All right, just go and volunteer. I mean, that is how I remember I started off my nursing career. I used to go to the hospital and just volunteer my time. Like I used to help do sterilization and so forth, and that is how I ended up actually getting hired hired in a hospital and pursuing my career in that field, right? So that is my take on this question.
I
Good.
just want to
Thank
add
you
to
for,
Mr.
yeah,
Kayem
go ahead.
very briefly. Yeah, so I think the volunteering aspect is very important. That shows that passion, that ambition. And I could remember as a medical student, any opportunity I had to be home in the summer, even during the winter breaks, if I could afford it, I would come home, see my family, and I would volunteer my entire break at the Western Regional Hospital. I also had a good mentor, Dr. Godoy, who is a surgeon at the Western Regional Hospital, and he was very instrumental part of my development. Throughout my journey as I trained in medical school. So I think yes, there are opportunities to volunteer. Get home, get in there. Do it for the love. Do it for the passion in your heart. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we have discussed like so much, and I think believe that these are like the basics of what aspiring and current developing professionals. Because as you know, Taiwan has been offering so many scholarships, right? And inclusive of other countries that have Belizeans that are studying there, right? So thank you for providing those insightful information that I know will be very helpful. Thank you so much. But now I believe it's time to open the floor for a question. So I am inviting now Mr. Jason Torres for a question that he has for our panel. Go ahead, Mr. Torres.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jason Torres, and I study here at National Yangming Chaotong. I'm actually in science research, and particularly my lab, we look at prophages and we look at epidemiological studies. My question is to Dr. Laila. You had said in your open remarks that it is important for us as a medical community back home to start looking at research. What type of research do you propose? Because in what we do is wet lab research, so to speak, as opposed to, and correct me if I'm wrong, in IHP, where we look at more numerical data. So moving forward, based on that aspect of your proposal, which type of research would you more or less say you'd want to implement back home?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Torres, and congratulations on being a part of NYCU. I'm sure you're going to find it a quite pleasurable experience. To be honest, when I was referring particularly for research, it was public health oriented research, which is probably one of the, I'd say, the easiest to do. There's descriptive methods, there's more correlative methods. If we don't have the data, established databases, and our health systems does have the BHIS system, for example. So there are different types of research that we can do in the public health realm. Now, I understand your background in wet lab, and having the equipment or the technology readily available in Belize is often a limiting factor. However, I do encourage you to maybe make networking connections, whether it's here in Taiwan, institutions in the US, because a lot of them do try to do research in Belize also. And for example, there are a lot of grant opportunities. The company that I work at, we connected recently with a prominent doctor from MIT, Dr. Harvey Lodish, and he is one of the godfathers when it comes to biotech in the US. And he comes from Boston, and he says every corner in Boston there's a biotech company. And why is there such a such an evolving community in Boston? And he mentioned it's because the government incentivizes this. The local government, they give them the grants, the financial opportunities. Now, if we're not able to have those opportunities from our own government, because we know that the resources are often restricted, there are a lot of external partners that are able to facilitate that. So I do encourage people in their own realms, try to learn how to do grant writing as well. So I'm sure your leading PI is always stressed out at the end of the year trying to do his grant writing proposal. So try to learn a little bit about that and see how you can implement that back home. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Morgan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to humbly add to Dr. Lila's answer in terms of research that we could transition back home and be involved with. I know currently the University of Belize, so I've really been part of the faculty for 10 years now. And when I started, there was really no research going on. However, in the last 2 to 3 years, it's been recent. I think just after the advent of COVID, the University of Belize started to undergo this resonance, this transition into really really the semblance of the first research groups. And in fact, I still currently work with Dr. Bina, and together we kind of run a small research group at the University of Belize. I would say one of the first things that you can do without money, without a whole lot of resources, would be tapping into the computational side of research. And that involves public health. All you need is a free software package, some permission, and a few surveys, and you could do a whole lot without any resource, with very, very little resources, I must say. On the other side of things, you could translate that into basic science research. So at the moment, I do both basic science and translational research. I also do drug discovery, like Dr. Lila. However, I'm more on the early side of drug discovery, where I work on developing lead compounds and developing therapeutics for kidney disease and epilepsy. I work on several different therapeutic targets as we try to get them into clinical trials over the next few years here at Mount Sinai. With Illuminant Surgical, I also do a host of computational work, largely the public health aspect of things, looking at competition more on the business public health side of things, where we look at what companies are doing out there and how we can advance our neurosurgical proprietary devices using artificial intelligence. So believe it or not, without a whole lot of money or resources, just from your computer, a few coding skills, I think that you can achieve a whole lot in terms of research. And there are opportunities opening up in Belize. Like as Dr. Esteban said, grant writing is an important part of training. In fact, the University of Belize also has a current grant available right now to students who would be interested in doing environmental research in, I think, biodegradable plastics, or it has something to do with plastics and environment and pollution, and they use the FTIR and different equipment that really was given to the University of Belize. So there are options opening up at home, and I think if we look for these opportunities, we can find them.
Rightly said, Dr. Morgan. And I believe that wraps up the question and answer segment. So thank you to our three wonderful panelists. It has been a pleasure discussing. I know there's so much things to discuss, but if any of our online logged anyone that is logged in online has any question, you can leave it on and we can try to answer them for you later on to on the online portal, or we can get back to you. And once again, thank you for listening. um, Dr. Morgan, Dr. Stefan, and Mr. Koyok, thank you for your time, and I bid all of you goodbye now. And we now transition into our next group of panelists, into our environmental segment. So Dr. Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Pook, and thank you to all our viewers and our panelists once again. So now, following on Dr. Morgan's comment about environmental sustainability, we can follow and transition into this panel, the environmental science segment. So I have the pleasure of introducing today's moderator. It's a 22-year-old impressive woman from Corozal. She is no other than Asia Gilhari. She is on a mission to soak up all the world has to offer her, and she's always constantly seeking new opportunities that help her grow and achieve great new things. She's currently a MOFA scholarship recipient and an undergraduate student of the International Relations and Diplomacy program at Tamkang University. Asia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Laila. Apologies in advance. My voice is not doing so well, but this is such an interesting panel that I still wanted to make my best effort, right? So to start, I would like to introduce the great panelists that we have for today. We have Dr. Kenrick Williams joining us all the way from Belize. Thank you so much for opening your schedule for us today. We have Mr. Anwar J. Wade. He is here with us, present here in Taiwan. And we have Miss Annalie Chuk. She is in Xiaoliuqiu, which is an island here in Taiwan. So to start off today's discussion, I would like for you guys to give us a short introduction. What are you doing? What is your background? And what are your interests? So let's start with you, Mr. Anwar Wade.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gahari. I felt like I was going to be first because I'm here. But yeah, so my name is Anwar Wade. I am from San Ignacio in Belize, and I was a MOFA scholar. I came into Taiwan in 2017, and I had the honor of studying in bioenvironmental systems engineering here in National Taiwan University. And so during my time as doing my undergraduate degree, I had a lot of opportunities, to be honest. Like, I'm really grateful for the program I chose and everything, because I had from researching in India to doing consultation in an environmental firm. And right now, I was a quality engineer, system and quality engineer in a medical manufacturing company. So I've had a broad range of experiences here in Taiwan. And I'm also working on I'm also a part-time columnist in an environmental media magazine. So yeah, I'm truly grateful to be able to have so much experiences despite just having my undergrad. And but in my future, I kind of want to work a bit more with public policy, specializing in just transition, or also in NGO management, because that's actually the main reason why I did environmental engineering. And I think anyone who does environmental science has this passion for wanting to do good or wanting to help people. And I think that studying environmental science gives you the opportunity to be able to help people who don't have access to as much resources, because you guys might know, because of climate change and stuff, usually the people who don't have access to the resources are the ones who are feeling most of the impact of climate change. Yeah, so since I'm very interested in that topic, I think that as I progress my studies, that's something I want to do, or focus on sustainability and enterprise. And again, thank you for the organizers, to everyone logging in, for creating such an opportunity for everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anwar Wade. Now can we hear from Ms. Chuk?
Hi, good morning and good night, everyone. My name is Annalie Chuk, and I am from the beautiful district of Toledo, down south Belize, Central America. Forgive me for the noise in the background or anything. I'm currently doing my internship in one of the most beautiful islands in Taiwan, known as Xiaoliuqiu. Um, I am the baby of two siblings, and I just want to say hi to my mom and my dad back home. I graduated from the University of Belize with an associate's degree in natural resource management. My love for the environment started when I was working at PGTV with alongside Mr. Will Mejia. I've been doing a lot of educational and outreach work in Toledo ever since, in my high school days, both marine and terrestrial. After finishing at PGTV, I then moved on to Oceana Belize, where I worked as Oceana's field representative for Toledo for 2 years. During the heights of COVID, I was blessed to get a scholarship from the Taiwan from the MOFA Taiwan, and I came to Taiwan in 2020, where I studied 1 year of Chinese at National Donghua University. After studying Chinese, I then moved on to Tainan side of Taiwan, where I am currently doing my undergraduate degree in International Program for Sustainable Development, with featuring in climate change, watershed management, and community development. After I chose this degree program just because my university is very wide and they push students into, doing a lot of hands-on experiments and experience and to doing like a lot more program into the community basis, like what Mr. AJ said, as environmental students, we have to know how to use our resources in a more sustainable manner. And I one of the main things, my love for the environment started at a very young age, and I'm just like privileged that, my university also like gives us a lot more. My university gives us a lot more, opportunities to like have more hands-on experience and stuff. I just want to say thanks to the Belize Taiwan Association page and the for giving me this opportunity in sharing more about my experience and about my journey while being a student in Taiwan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Annalie Chuk. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Kendrick Williams to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing in the Ministry of Sustainable Development and a little bit of your background.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gilhari, and certainly it's a pleasure to share the panel with these very astute young people. I feel like you left the old person for last, but yeah, have that discussion later. Certainly, I want to join from Ms. Chuk's point in congratulating the team in organizing this event. I think it's well put together, and I certainly congratulate you. I'm thinking about my time in Taiwan, and I've spoken to a few colleagues who think, it's a really great opportunity to have this discussion, this dialogue. While we were in Taiwan, of course, we would have had some of these initial discussions and tried to put together this type of discourse. So certainly congratulations. And again, I really am excited to share this panel with these two bright young people because I can feed off some of that energy. It is a Friday night in Belize, so that's the end of a very long week. And I'm actually in Corozal because as part of my portfolio, there's a fire department, and so we're going to be launching a renovated fire station in Corozal first thing in the morning, along with a family fun day as part of a broader activity. So in a bit of transition. Nevertheless, it's exciting to be here. As you introduced, I'm Dr. Kendrick Williams. I am currently the Chief Executive Officer in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Climate Change, and Disaster Risk Management. I actually did first my undergrad at Galen University and did a master's in National Central University in Zhongli, and thereafter transitioned to Hualien, National Donghua University, where I did my PhD. And so again, I got the goosebumps when I heard about those people being in Donghua and sharing that experience. Currently, as part of my portfolio with the Ministry of Sustainable Development, There's about 10 departments. We have the Forest Department, the Department of the Environment, Climate Change, National Biodiversity, Protected Areas Conservation Trust, NEMO, the Fire Department, National Meteorological Service, and Solid Waste Management. I think, and Sustainable Development Unit. So there's about 10 departments in the portfolio in which I manage. We run about $100 million or so in terms of annual budget, and largely responsible for the broader strategic and policy direction of the ministry in terms of these critical portfolios, sustainable development, climate change, and disaster risk management. I came back to Belize in 2016, directly after my PhD, of course. Coming out of studies, I looked at options in the US, in Europe. But there's a unique thing about Belize where it's ripe for opportunities. Belize provides you such an opportunity to get involved at the highest level. So at the time, my former professor, Dr. Colin Young, said, you know, why I would give you a recommendation to go and work in Europe, but I prefer you to come home in Belize and we'll look at some opportunities. And I came back as a policy and institutional expert at the ministry in 2016. Well, a few years down the road, here I am as one of the youngest CEO in the government, and it's been such a humbling experience. It's been such an amazing experience, and again, I'm grateful to share a part of this discussion with you. No?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. So it makes me really excited to hear all of you guys talk about your experiences and your interest in the field. I mean, something that makes me very proud about saying I'm from Belize is the fact that we have so many conservation plans and how beautiful our country is in general because we have made such a great effort in keeping it that way. So something interesting with the three panelists is that you all share a common, you came here to Taiwan, a Taiwanese experience, a Taiwan experience. So I wanted to talk more about this. I wanted to ask you guys, when someone has the interest in this field, what would you recommend for them to do? I know it is such a big field. There's so many pathways in which you guys can go into. So what is your advice for someone that is coming in to the field and wants to know, what should I do, you know? So I would like to direct this question to Mr. Wade, if you can. And please, guys, feel free to also join in with the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Asia. Well, I think that there's two scenarios. If you're interested in environmental science and you already know what you want to specialize in, then that kind of narrows it down to you for you to be able to like think, okay, what type of people I need to network it when I'm here in Taiwan. For example, like talking to professors, the type of events or forums you go to, even volunteering, like you find specific organizations where you can volunteer. Now, if you would think of someone like me that I was like, okay, I want to help people. I love the environment, but I don't know where I want, like exactly in what area. There are so many stuff that I like. The only thing I can tell you is to like jump in the water and try different things. That's the only way that you will know where you see yourself and where you thrive. Because I think that was something important that I think the other panelists talked about finding your passion. But you also need to be honest with yourself and see in what type of environment you thrive in. Because you can be passionate about something, but maybe your skill set also fits something else, and you're also really good at that. And I think the only way you will know what your specialty is, where you should go, is if you try to put yourself in different fields. For someone, yeah, that's my perspective on it.
Okay, guys, would anyone else like to add? Because, you know, this, again, just going back, this is such a wide range field. You know, there's so many branches. How important is it to specialize within the field of environmental science? So anyone can join in to the
If I could
discussion.
jump in, I think really the field is so broad, and I've been in it for some time, and I'm still learning the extent of the field. That is how broad it is, right? More recently, as part of the job of the CEO, I serve as either the lead or deputy lead negotiator for the government and the people of Belize in terms of the UNFCCC COP, in terms of the CBD COP, and there's a whole new field, there's a whole new world. We've recently been doing work in terms of carbon credits, and you can branch that out into whether it's green carbon or blue carbon, or biodiversity credits. There's a whole new burgeoning world, and as the whole discourse on the UNFCCC and the COP develops, there's going to be new fields that really develops. We have people within, for example, the forest department, who traditionally a forest department hires forest officers, and those forest officers deal with trees. We have expanded that department significantly, where forestry is only one component and a small component of the work that they do. But there's things like a forest engineer, there's restoration engineers, there's those who are dealing with IT and geospatial monitoring. So the field is very extensive, and as I said, while my entrance into the field were very specific, so naturally coming into the field, studying biology and chemistry, and then going into the broader environmental science in undergrad, and going to National Central to do the International Environmental Sustainable Development, you're really exposed to this very broad spectrum. And so my advice is really don't limit yourself. I think Mr. Wade said, get involved in some internship or some exposure. And even so, I came in with an interest in solid waste management, and I came out with a broader interest in environmental economics, and really looking at pay as you throw and user fees and a whole different spectrum. Similarly, with my PhD, I came in with an appreciation for, I understood the environmental engineering side, I understood the economic side, but for my PhD, I wanted to get involved in the policy because, that's, you figure, well, I may go back to Belize and I will teach at UB, or I will teach at Galen, or whatever. And so I wanted to focus on policy, and I focused on environmental policy. But even coming out of there, the spectrum of areas that I could have focused on, and again, even where I came in terms of interest, and because the spectrum of what you learn, and the myriad of interest that is there, it really helps to develop you. The truth is, the field of environmental science is really developing. I also teach at Galen University. I encourage my students to, from the business side, to always do an environmental course. For those in the environmental side, to always do a business course, because there's this transdisciplinary approach to many things. Climate change now is not just a discussion with those of us in the field of science and environment. It's a keen discussion with the business sector. I talked about carbon credits, for example. We're not going to get to 1.5 degrees C without having private sector involved in the discussion. And so the truth is, the field is shifting. So I encourage all people interested in the field to really, try to get hands-on experience, build on your passion, certainly, because as always said, the old adage, you don't work a day if it's something you love. And so certainly build on your passion, but feel free to explore and really, try to develop those passions further.
Yes, Ms. Annalie, I know you wanted to also join in, so the floor is now yours.
Hi, I just wanted to add a little bit more to what Dr. Kendra and Mr. Anwar was talking about when it comes to how big the environmental field is, and also getting like a lot of hands-on basis experience and stuff like that. I can say that, I'm very privileged at my university to actually get a lot of hands-on basis experience, just because like my university, we have three majors, which includes climate change, watershed management, and community development. So in each one of these fields, they actually push students to actually go out into the field to get like, like experience and stuff, where we do like water quality testing, we do air quality testing, we learn about, environmental remediation, how to take out toxins out of the soil through different processes and so forth. We learn from, things from oceanography down to like making products from sustainable to how to make like products more sustainable from the entire community, how to work with a community on a one-to-one basis. So it's like, we go from like the community based back to like the ocean and back to like the terrestrial side of the environment. The environmental field is so big right now, but it's like what Dr. Kendrick said. You just have to find your passion, and you just have to like try to be involved in you like all the internships, all the experience, because you never know where you're actually going to actually find your passion. Like I am very, very grateful for like my university, and also for, for giving me all of these like experience and like all of these internships right now to get like different things. Like for example, right now I'm in Cho. I'm learning about, I'm learning about the island, and I'm going to be doing an underwater dive course. And after doing the underwater dive course, we will have the opportunity to do turtle identification, where we'll be gathering data for our school database. So this is one of the internship that is actually provided at my university for students, which I'm very, very grateful for. This is something that I can actually learn here in Taiwan. I can, gather information from Taiwan and actually go back home and, be able to explore our seas. This is something that I cannot wait to actually go back home. Being in the environmental field is like having a huge passion, not only for the environment, but having a huge passion for, like every living thing and every living being. And like right now we're learning about, the corals in Cho, the protection, of the environmental creatures, biodiversity, and also learning to meet with the community basis on a one-to-one level, and to learn about their entrepreneurship ideas, to see how they make products in a more sustainable manner. And it's like our university actually pushes us to like, they want us to actually being able to what we learn in the classroom. They give us opportunities to try and see how we can apply it in the workforce. So where students have the opportunities to go to different parts of Taiwan, where they be able to like, we want you to create a product. This is what we give you. You need to create this product and see how they can use it in the community. And after using it in the community, they would actually tell you, okay, how can you get this and take it back to Belize? How can you get this and take it back to Uganda? How can you get this and take it back to Tanzania? We don't want it in Taiwan. Yes, we're grateful for the opportunity, but we want you to take it back to your country. So they push students to actually go out. Unfortunately, I am the only student from Belize at my university. So right now, this is actually like any environmental students on a MOFA scholarship right now, if you want to study international sustainability with a major in climate change, watershed management, and community development, where you want to have like a lot of like hands-on basis experience, in the environment. Come to Changrong Dashue, where you can be able to experience this and be a part of, be a part of us and be a part with us, in these experience and so forth. So I just wanted to add a little bit more to like what Dr. Kendra and Anwar had to say.
Okay, thank you for that. You guys mentioned, you have all of these opportunities here in Taiwan. So I would like you guys to speak a little bit more on what are the key skills that you get from these internships and these opportunities that will later on help you to get a job, because there are certain key qualities that employers look for in every single sector, right? What is that for environmental science? I would like to start with you, Mr. Dr. Williams.
Well, I want to behave as the employer in this discussion because I've had to, of course, employ a lot of people coming back to Belize, and some of the key things we're looking for. Listening to Ms. Chuk, for example, with her practical experiences. Again, Belize is a natural resource-based economy, right? What we are currently doing is to build the data and information that we need. So I talked earlier about the matter of carbon credits. You guys know about the matter of the blue bond, and how we use that to address debt restructuring. But we can only do those real structural adjustments by the data that Ms. Chuk can bring, right? So it is that experience on the ground in terms of the data collection, in terms of the field work that can feed into databases that can inform policy. And so those are some of the key skills that we are looking for. The challenge right now with Belize is that a lot of foreigners, a lot of international experts are driving the policy decisions in Belize because of the absence of data and or tools and mechanisms to inform policy, right? We are now trying to build the experience and the data and information and capacity of our local. So back to my example of carbon credits, because this is one of the bigger mechanisms that we're going to be using as a government to address some of the debt restructuring and to address sort of natural resource-based income generation for Belize. So what we need is, again, for the forest sector, for example, or the energy sector, we need people with experience in how to collect the forest data, land use and land cover change, for example, to go out there to measure the forest, to measure the changes in the forest, to understand the forest dynamics, etc. And so we have students now who are being trained in Germany, who are being trained in other parts of the world, who are able to collect that data. But we're also building the capacity within our own people here. We've recently done a first assessment, and we've been able to measure how much carbon storage that we have in terms of our overall sovereign value of carbon credits. And we've estimated that to be about $5.6 million. We've done that with local capacity, 5.6 million tons, sorry. We've done that with local capacity because we trained and we build the experience in-house. That has been reviewed and approved by the UNFCCC, and so we can now use that to go to market. That's only about one aspect of what we can do, and it's only about one sector of what we can do. We can do the same for energy, we can do the same for waste, we can do the same for transport sectors. And with that, we can address some of the real structural issues in Belize. So again, there are some of these nuances and new experiences and new opportunities that exist in this environmental science field that people can take advantage of, that we as a government will really, I mean, take up very fast, right? And you will be absorbed quickly into the Belizean workforce. So that's really just about one snapshot of some of the things that we're looking for, and some of the capacities that we need in Belize to help to drive some of these things. People who understand financing and green finance and sustainable finance, for example, is one of the new area that people are looking at. So it's not just understanding business and finance, but this new area of green finance, that because Belize is a natural resource economy, that is helping us to drive some of these things. If we didn't understand green finance and sustainable finance and ESG and some of the burgeoning markets, then we couldn't have negotiated a successful blue bond. So, again, some of the new opportunities that also exist for Belize. No?
Yeah, I really like what you're talking about when you say, all fields are intertwined. It's not really ideal to only be an expert in one thing. Yes, it's important to have a niche, right? But it's also very important for you to understand different aspects of something. You coming from policy, environmental policy, that has a lot to do also with politics and environment. It has a lot to do with economics and environment. So I really like that you highlighted this. But I also wanted to ask anyone else if they have any recommendations on what you need to find a specialization or combination to be better equipped for the workforce, or your ideas, because I know Annalie is still studying, but we also have Mr. Wade. What do you think about this topic?
For someone who just graduated last year and is, still trying to figure out the ropes about everything, I think I really spent the past year, the reason after graduation that I didn't think, okay, let me do my master's or stuff, is because I feel like because the environmental science field is still developing, I wanted to make sure that I'm really see what is out there. And based on trends that I saw and stuff, I could say that also something that's very important right now is data analytics. It's really growing, and for example, NGOs, even companies who work with risk analysis for sustainability, they really need data analysts right now. Also, like Dr. Williams mentioned the thing about financing. I think that could be linked to before when he mentioned that just because you're in the business from the business field doesn't mean you can't get into sustainability or environmental science, because right now also sustainability, financing and sustainability, green auditing, all of those stuff is kind of big in companies right now. especially in Europe. I think it's something that's already developed and is still developing there, but it's something that's becoming new to the world. And like I mentioned before, like if you just use media, if you look at media and you look at trends and stuff, you'll see that like sustainable analysis is something that's gonna be something big in about like maybe 10 years from now. Yeah. I hope that was helpful to you guys.
If I can, I know maybe Ms. Chuk wants to jump in, but I think there's two good points that Mr. Anwar highlighted. And I think one, take your time, get experience, right? There's no need to rush into a master's degree. Get experience, understand the fields, look at where the niches are. You know, I think that's important. So there's nothing wrong with, not just completing a undergrad and then I want to do my master's right away. No, get experience. And then secondly, in terms of the niche fields, in terms of, the new fields that are developing, the truth is that they're developing, I mean, they're becoming real and accessible way more faster than 10 years. The people that I have discussions with as a CEO in the Ministry of Sustainable Development is with Citibank, HSBC, and all of these people who are interested in now this new ESG portfolio, the environmental social governance portfolio within their banks, within the World Bank, within the IMF, and all of these banks. As a matter of fact, we're having discussions with Taiwan. I'm going to be in Taiwan in a few weeks, and having discussions with bank about looking at their market cap and what portion of that is going to be sustainable financing and what's going to be green financing and what opportunities exist. So again, there are opportunities that exist today, and that field is expanding very rapidly.
Ms. Chuk, would you like to add anything else to the conversation?
I don't really have anything in depth to add into the conversation, just because like what Dr. Kendrick said, I'm just having fun, learning and like getting all the hands-on basis experience I can get right now as a student. So I'm having fun while doing it, and I'm just grateful to be able to learn new things each and every day.
Okay, nice. So I really like where the discussion is going, but not to get too dark, but what are some of the challenges that you guys face in this field? What are the frustrations and how have you overcome them or are overcoming them right now? So Ms. Chuk, we can start with you.
Hi, Asia. While going, if I would go back like a little bit, when I was doing my associate's degree in natural resource management, one of the challenges that I actually faced was that I was the only girl in my department at the time. So it was always like, they would always give me like the girl treatment, like I wouldn't be treated fairly, or I wouldn't say fairly, but they would be like, oh, just be careful, this one, you can't do this one as much because you might get hurt and so forth. But like, I just like being in the environmental field, it's like you want to be able to experience everything. So it's like, as being like a girl, especially in my field right now, it's like I want to be able to push myself to my utmost capabilities and try to see how far I can go. Just because it's like being able to get the experience is one of the main things, but it's like fair treatment as well, because it's a lot of hard work. It's very fun, and especially how far you want to go. It's like finding your passion and so forth, like especially for right now in the underwater. I'm going to be doing the underwater dive right now in Cho. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something very simple, but it's like, I want to push myself and I want to see how far I can go with it. I'm very grateful, that my university, they're like, we don't care, your girl, your boy, experience for everyone. So it's like that's one of the main thing that I faced when I was back home. Like it would be like the whole girl and boy treatment, but that's one of the main things.
Okay, would you guys like to add anything else, Mr. Wade?
Okay, so I think one of the first one for me is the fact that we have, like, I know people think passion is good, but sometimes when you have too much passion and you can't get to do what you want to do, it can be very frustrating. And there is a very, I think when it comes to environmental science related jobs, at least in like when it comes more to like the business or the consulting part, they want, from what I've seen from job group requirements, they require like a couple of years of experience, you know, because they're looking for people who are gonna transition from something else into sustainability. And although we mentioned that it's important for you guys to try different stuff, make sure you don't spread yourself too thin, that then when it's time, and maybe for example like you graduate and you're looking for work, that then you're so thin that you can't get into anything, and then you need to put in more work after. So, and I feel like, to be honest, on my side, I did look into jobs and stuff, but I realized that I maybe spread myself a little too thin, and I should have tried to focus on something a bit more to like kind of have a niche, as to say, then like spread yourself to try different things, but with a plan. And yeah, that was one of my biggest challenges.
Okay, thank you. I think it also comes with the territory of having a very broad set of options in this field. You know, you want to try everything, and then you become like a jack of many trades, but expert in none, right? But I don't think it's always going to be a bad thing. Maybe, I mean, it's not my field, right? But yeah, Mr. Williams, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I definitely have to say it's not a bad thing. I also have to indicate that I own a consultancy firm just before or in between my policy expert position and the position of the CEO. I own a consultancy firm. We had about 5 of us working this consultancy firm, largely supported by my students at Gillen University. We did work for IDB, some national work, and some other international companies, like some Brazilian companies doing also some work in Central America and the Caribbean. And why I'm saying to Mr. Anwar it's not always such a bad thing is because with that experience, you have a systemic view of things. You're able to connect the dots. And I find that a lot of students or a lot of people coming into the market can't do that, right? If you focus on a niche, sometimes people only understand those niches and only understand those areas, but they're not able to make the connections. Like I'm telling you, we're having discussions on, things like biodiversity credits, things like carbon credits, and that requires a very different but connected thinking, right? In terms of the system view of things, and the broader shift in how we treat with the environment. One of the challenges I have, growing up in this field was, environmental science, tree huggers people, and it was that very narrow view of what environmental sciences were. To today, my closest interaction is with the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister, and my minister driving some of these national level impacts, right? When we look at the green bond and negotiating that was between the Ministry of Environment along with the Ministry of Finance. Of course, the Ministry of Blue Economy, which was really just getting started, was part of the broader discussion. But it's the environmental science people driving the conversation now. So it's a very, very different approach. So I think getting that broad level view and a high level view is not exactly a bad thing. And again, you're young, so get as much experience. And I think again in education there's a paradigm shift. Before we used to be specialists in a specific area. Today, getting a small sense of these pockets of things is much better and much more useful in terms of supporting some of the career paths and opportunities that may exist. No?
Thank you very much, guys, for your input and the discussion. We are now going to start taking questions from the audience or the live. So I will start with you, Dr. Stefan.
Thank you, Ms. Gilhari. One of the questions in the live chat is in reference to the opportunities that all the panelists have mentioned. are there specific channels in Belize to access these opportunities, and are there actual openings in the ministry currently? So I think Dr. Williams would be the most suitable person to address this. Thank you.
Thanks for that. There's no specific channel save for, at least in the public service, the Ministry of Public Service, through which you apply for government jobs. There are several openings within the ministry because the ministry is expanding so fast. We run, like I said, right now about $50 million or so in projects, and we run about some $40+ million in recurrent expenditures. That's outside of the disaster risk management portfolio. That's mostly the environment portfolio. And so we're implementing a lot of projects. We have a project right now that is integrated landscape management of sustainable productive areas. It's called the Jeff 6 project. It's a project financed by Jeff. And there's need for gender expert, there's need for biologists, there's need for riparian engineers, there's need for policy experts, there's need for, so there's several, that project is actually just kicking off. So there's several opportunities within that specific portfolio. In the forest department, for example, and this direction on climate change and carbon credits, we really recently just hired 4 technicians that will support the land use and land change activity data collection for climate change. So there are some opportunities there. Certainly within the DOE, opportunities for our technicians. So there's different opportunities that exist across the ministry if you're interested in disaster risk management and disaster risk reduction. For example, NEMO, which is one of the portfolio. NEMO, largely, as most Belizeans will know, dealt with hurricanes and hurricane response, but never dealt with the broader disaster risk reduction, climate resiliency, and disaster risk management in Belize. So we're changing how we treat with disaster from just thinking about hurricane response to disaster risk management. And so we're bringing on disaster risk officers. So we're no longer having just an office that deals with hurricane response, but thinking about comprehensive disaster management. So we're creating an office of disaster management and dealing with multiple hazards. We're bringing in IT specialists to support some of the communications. We're bringing in the disaster management specialists. So there's several, again, pockets of opportunities that exist across the various departments within the ministry. We tried to use the public service portal to announce those opportunities. The reality does exist. It's largely also who you know, because some of these things happen very fast. And so we try to target where some specialists and where some expertise exists, and try to bring those people on as fast as possible, no?
Okay, thank you very much for your response. I would now like to ask Mr. Castillo to give us his question.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Wade. Similar to what Mr. Williams had shared about vacancies and jobs back in Belize, I know that while in Taiwan, you did an internship at school and then transitioned into the work field. How did you go about making that transition? What outlets are there available? How did you use a certain platform to apply for such jobs, or how do you go about looking for them? And is Chinese a requirement in your field? I know that here in Taiwan, when students study, some might choose to work. I know you have a certain level of Chinese, but is it a requirement in your field here, or is it something that is not required?
So thank you. And most of my internships that I did during my undergrad, the first ones were through professors. So like I mentioned to you guys, I think it's very important that you try to think about what you want to try and try to narrow, find people in that field and talk to them. And to be honest, I think, especially in environmental science, we're always open to help and give advice because we know how the field is changing and you know the challenges and how to navigate yourself with such a big area. And other than that, approaching graduation, then I use like the the usual job websites, for example, like or social media like LinkedIn. My job I have right now, actually, I applied for an internship there through LinkedIn. But there's also other ones, for example, like Glassdoors, Indeed, where you can find listings for jobs that are also in Taiwan. Um, but something that's very good to also know is that you don't need to limit yourself to the jobs that, for example, if I take LinkedIn, for example, you don't need to limit yourself to the jobs in LinkedIn because there are also, for example, like I follow this page called Green Jobs Sport, and they post specific climate related jobs. And there are a lot of people out there, a lot of organizations who are trying to um, promote these jobs because like Dr. Williams mentioned, is that we need people in these fields. And sometimes it's hard to find the talent you need. So these outlets are trying to find those people and make it easier for them. So the information is there for you. When it comes to the Chinese aspect, I have done some of my internships in Chinese, but I do think it's possible to find opportunities in English as well. It's not a requirement, but it's always good to have a level of Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, panelists. It has been an honor to be your moderator today. Mr. Williams, I hope my little hometown of Curacao treats you nicely. And please get some meat pies for me because I miss them very much. Before we go on to our coffee break, I would like to ask our invited guests to come to the front. We will start with, 1 second.
So we have prepared some certificates of appreciation for our distinguished guests this morning. So first and foremost, I have the honor to present the certificate of appreciation to Professor Lee Wei Chow. We are very grateful for your presence and for your kind words during the opening remarks.
And now we have to present our certificate to Dr. Ambassador Candice Pitts. Thank you for making the time to show up here on this Saturday morning, very early. We appreciate.
And on that note, thank you so much. Can everyone, I invite all guests present to make their way to the front so we can take a proper group photo before delving into the coffee break. Our panelists online, your beautiful faces will be featured in this photo as well. So put on those $1,000,000 smiles. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys. We are now going to go on our coffee break. So thank you, panelists, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
we should give them recognition for that. So I would like to first start by introducing our panelists, at which time after we will have a short introduction, and then we will get on to the question and answers. To begin, I would like to introduce Ms. Bianca McFadden, who is a software developer, e-governance, and digitalization unit in Belize. And she is joining us via online from Belize. And I would like to also welcome Mr. John Rabatu, who is a systems analyst at the e-governance and digitalization unit, who is also in Belize currently. We also have Dr. Leonel Gonzalez, who is an assistant professor in Smart Sustainable Development and Management at National Taipei University, and Mr. Dale Neal, who is a current PhD candidate of Information Management at the Information Management Program at National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, and he is here present with us today in person. Thank you for being here. To begin with, I would like to ask our panelists to give a short introduction of yourselves. Please give us a short description of your educational background, what you currently do for work, and then we will continue from there. So first, I will give the floor to Ms. McFadden. Can you please give a short introduction, please?
Hi, my name is Bianca McFadden, and I'm a software developer at the e-governance and digitalization unit under the Ministry of Public Utilities, Energy, Logistics, and e-governance. In my early years, I attended St. Catherine Academy and later went on to St. John's Junior College to pursue an associate's degree in math and physics. While at SJC, I then realized that there was a computer information systems program, and being I was way more interested in IT, I decided, why not get another degree in something I love? So I decided to go for it, and I spent another 2 years at SJC. After completing my studies there, I was contemplating where I should go to further my education when inspiration came in the form of one of my friends, Ashley. She encouraged me to apply to the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago. I was accepted and completed my bachelor's degree in computer science in 2015 and decided to come back home and start my professional career here in Belize. I applied to the Central Information Technology Office because it was familiar to me as I did a summer internship there. I was hired as a database administrator, and after a couple of years, I unofficially transitioned to a software developer as I had a passion for coding. As a software developer, I have learned to utilize various programming languages such as Java, C, C++, PHP, C#, JavaScript, CSS, and several others. We would also work with database servers and other tools that assist us in debugging and designing and building software that meets the needs of users. I improved my skill set as a dev by attending trainings, personal research, and interactions with fellow developers and coworkers. Although most trainings are virtual, I was fortunate to visit St. Lucia, Grenada, and Taiwan for several of those sessions. Recently, we have moved from the waterfall model to the agile culture. The agile culture is a change in the way we work and think as a response to the ever-changing needs of customers and stakeholders. Although change may be difficult, I have learned to embrace it because as a developer, we experience change as we transition from one module to another and one project to another. My years as a software developer has taught me several key concepts that I keep in mind. 1. Develop coding standards and follow them. 2. Documentation is crucial to debugging. And 3. Do not reinvent the wheel. A package or tool may exist that does exactly what you need. So why do it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McFadden. Mr. Rabatu, can you please give us an introduction of yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you for the introduction. Um, Greetings all. It is a pleasure to be here. Good morning in Taiwan. Good night here in Belize. My name is John Paul Roberto. I earned my engineering degree in computer science in Mexico in 1995. I've been working in Belize ever since. I currently work for the e-governance and digitalization department in the beautiful city of Belmopan. I'm from the wonderful neighborhood and quiet neighborhood of Corozal Town. I have experience for the umpteen years in working in both public and private organizations. My current position as a system analyst and where I oversee projects as a project owner is similar to Bianca's as we work in an agile area, the change of culture. That is what e-governance does here in Belize. I'm excited to share my experience with you and I'm open to any questions. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. Now we move on to Dr. Gonzalez. Can you please introduce yourself?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, sir. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Lionel Francisco Gonzalez, and I am very excited to join this work forum. In terms of my background, I have a solid foundation in data analysis and machine learning. And over the past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to work on various projects in terms of academics, right? In statistical models and visualizations on how to apply this in actually real data, right? So in particular, I am passionate about leveraging data to drive informed decision making and enhance business outcomes. So my areas of interest within this forum will include like predictive modeling, natural language processing, and anomaly detection. I understand it's something very much, limited, I guess, in use maybe in Belize, but I believe that it will be something that will be very much crucial in terms of Belize's development, right, in the tech industry, right? So I really find data science and machine learning very much fascinating, and I'm always eager to explore new techniques and approaches. So I'm genuinely excited to learn from all of you and contribute to the discussion here. I believe that sharing our knowledge and experiences can help us grow both individually and collectively. I value the diverse perspectives that each member brings to the table and look forward to engaging in thoughtful and productive conversations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Now we give the floor to Mr. Neil.
Um, Hello, hi everyone. My name is Dale Neal. Good morning to the ones in Taiwan. Good night to the ones in Belize. I am a PhD student currently at National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. A bit of my background, I'll mix it up really quick. I did a bachelor's and a master's degree in Taiwan, both in the area of business and technology. And then after that, I moved on and I worked at a Taiwanese company for over 4 years. And as both of the panelists mentioned about agile and technical documentation, I was a technical, I did technical background in terms of like the system that the company was working on. So we did in-vehicle system, small robotics, and system for bus design and tracking. So that was sort of like my area when I was working at that company. And then I moved on to do my PhD at this that I'm doing right now. I'm focusing a lot on human collaboration with AI. So basically what I did over the last 3 years, I worked on a robotics program with Microsoft, where we use one of their OpenCV camera, and we use object detection to count the amount of people coming into the university and going out and so forth. And right now I'm working on a project called My Yogai, where it's sort of like one of the first AI designed yoga program where you can practice yoga without an instructor using object detection. And we came up with an algorithm that detects 18 points on your body. So later on, I can share it and you guys can go on with it. Within that project, we've won 3 competitions within our first year. And recently, we won an award where 2 of us will be going to Silicon Valley for 2 weeks to learn more about a little bit about object detection, machine learning, and a small part about robotics. So if you have any question in that area, I'll do my best to help you guys out. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you very much as well, Mr. Neil. I would just like to remind our audience, if you are watching online, while we are discussing with the panelists, feel free to post your questions on the live feed. And also a reminder to our panelists, whenever a question is posed, if you have something to add to another panelist's comments or response, feel free to do so. Let it be a lively discussion. And to begin, I would like to ask if you can provide a bit more in-depth insight into your current job, the current job market, trends and opportunities that are available in Belize within your field. And this is geared towards Ms. McFadden and Mr. Rabatu.
Hi. So, currently, well, at our office, we're actually looking for other software developers. So the market is there for new software developers at eGov. And there are a lot of openings in government for database admins, software developers, and technical people such as that. So the market is there. It's here in Belize in government and some private also. So that exists. Well, currently right here with us at eGov. So you don't have to go far to apply for a software developer post if you're in Belize.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rabatu, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Our section is basically structured in 2 areas. One is development and one is project management. As Bianca correctly said, there is opportunity in the development section, and there is also opportunity in the project management section. We are a new department. We were brought into existence 2 years now, or as you can see from the title, e-governance and digitalization. We have a lot of work here in Belize to do, so we need help. You guys that are out there studying and looking for something entertaining and challenging, and that will change Belize to be better, give a better service to our citizens, this is where you can come and join us. Please do so. So we have the opportunities. It's just for you to want and to come in and join us. The opportunities are here in Belize, as Ms. Madfatson mentioned. It's just that we need you to have that interest in joining and working together. That's what I can add right now.
Okay, thank you very much. And I will pose the same question to Mr. Neil and Dr. Gonzalez if you'd like to share, if you have any information to share on the current job markets here in Taiwan or in Belize and the opportunities available within your fields.
Um, okay, I'll go first. When it comes to Taiwan, I think a vast majority of us, in terms of if you're a programmer, it's sort of like there's too many of us here. So you have to bridge yourself, and sort of like what I did with the project that I'm doing for my PhD, where you become more of a designer, like an AI designer, where you construct the plan of how you're going to discuss with the engineers what to build. I already know coding. That's a small part of what we need to do. One of the biggest challenges that Taiwan has is people that do well in software, not just in the sense that they're programming it, but designing it, because most of their tools always fall apart. We've seen that over the years, because I've worked in the technical department for over 4 years, and that was one of my jobs, finding out the bugs, why did it go wrong, what happened. So just a simple example, we built different servers for different telecommunication companies around the world, but it's just the hardware. When we started our own program to try to build a software, it couldn't work. It was very difficult. And so it was me and another Canadian that had that job of finding out what are the difficulties in terms of how do we design this and what do we move forward. Taiwan is very, very good at hardware. They're excellent at hardware. Now, software is sort of like what they're trying to get at right now. It's one of the most difficult tasks. And for that, you need to think outside the box, like my ex-boss would always say. So you design the system in terms of how you see it, and then you discuss with the engineers how to move forward. It's sort of like a new area where I was told once they call it like an AI designer PM job, sort of. So the similar example I did with the website that I recently built, where I worked with two other a data scientist and an AI engineer, and I'm the guy who designed the entire setup of how it's going to work. And like that, there's a flow to it. So if you can adapt yourself in that area, I think you have a chance of entering the job market in Taiwan. But they have a lot of programmers here. They have a lot of engineers, fantastic engineers. Now, where do you see yourself, and how do you fit in to get ahead? I think that's sort of like you use those years when you're in university to join different groups and then attach your idea of how you want to see your product move forward. And I think that's what I've been doing over the past 3 years. Yeah, when I started my PhD. But again, those things take time, practice, and again, I think a lot of that developed within my 4 years of working as a technical assistant in terms of that area. I don't know if Lionel has something different to add.
Okay. Well, from my experience is that actually what Dale was saying is very important in the sense that he is actually inside the company itself, right? So he has maybe the ambition to grow and to learn more. He's like a sponge in there, right? So he's trying to get everything he can. And when the opportunity comes, he actually delivers, right? And I believe that what he has said, plus what I can add, is that to enter, for example, AI and machine learning, data science, it requires that you have a profile of projects that you are being working on for quite some time, actually. I also can encourage people who want to get into computer science and data science to try and get into GitHub, and you put your work in that platform so that these employers can see you, because our area of work is not just to show your qualification and you say, okay, I have this or that. So I learned, and maybe I might be mistaken, but my experience that with my degree, it doesn't mean that I have one foot in the job market, right? So I have to show my work in the sense of a platform like GitHub, right, where they will see, okay, Lionel is working on anomaly detection, he's working on natural language processing, right? He has the experience. So I believe he can come into my workplace and do the work that I want, right? So I encourage anyone who wants to get into this kind of field, like what Mr. Dale said, to try and do that in order for them to be network or exposed right out there, right? Because that's one of the first things I learned as well. So, and that actually gave me the opportunity to kind of be seen in the university where I'm going to teach what I've learned. And I believe I will also learn and improve myself as a researcher and as a data scientist, right? Because I consider myself a data scientist as well, because I have worked with a number of projects in different areas of machine learning. So that's what I can share with the students or professionals that are online. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And for those listening, well, now we have a little bit more of an understanding on what they do. And before we continue, we have a burning question here in our audience, and I will pass the time to Miss Myra.
Thank you so much, Amador. Yes, it's been burning for all this time. Mr. Roberto and Ms. McFadden, I know that you said there are positions open in the e-governance unit, but there was this doubt. I was speaking to one of our participants here during the coffee break, and they said, I'm not sure if I need to continue taking on internships. What do I need to work for 2 years, have 2 years experience, or get an internship, or continue towards my master's degree? How far should I study so that I will be considered for the job? What's the qualification required to work with you guys at the e-governance unit or any IT field in Belize? We would like to know this.
Thanks for the question. For mainly for the entry levels we're looking at, I know many times we're asking for experience, but what I believe is that once you have the capacity, the skills, and you are competent and confident, you can definitely, once given the opportunity, prove yourself, so to speak. Mainly, it would be a bachelor's degree for entry levels. As personally, I will. I finished with engineering degree here in Belize. It's accepted, I think, as a bachelor's. But regardless, once the opportunity was given, it was not given directly in my field when I started to work, but the door opened, and that door opened another door. So you might not get the correct or the exact profession that you want at the beginning, but if you continue and people see what you bring to the table, they will surely come knocking at your door and open that door for you to go in. So if it be an intern, if it be you are given the opportunity of working for, let's say, a couple months for a project, whatever it is, take it. And then once, as I said, once you prove yourself, believe me, other doors will open and you will get what you want. So all you need to do is be confident in yourself and you should go good.
Following up to what Mr. John had mentioned, when I finished from UA, it was in 2015. I got a job like 3 months later, 2 months later, and the post had mentioned you have a bachelor's degree, so much years of experience, but I wouldn't say to let those things stop you when applying for jobs, because you would get an interview. You could prove yourself in an interview. Sometimes people are hired based on their confidence, based on what they know, what they say, how they approach a situation. So it's not basically you have to have everything that the post is asking for. So I feel like everyone should approach it like that, because you will never know what you can do until you are given the chance to do it. So not because it says, oh, a bachelor's, if you don't have a bachelor, you shouldn't apply. Because at the same time, after a few years or while you're there, you could start part-time going to school if you want. Opportunities always arise. So as Mr. John mentioned, you should just take it, just apply. You won't know until you apply. Like my mom told me. I told my mom, I said, no, I don't want to apply because I don't want to get rejected. She said, well, you won't be the first to be rejected, and if you get the job, you never know. So if you don't try, you will never know. So I just think that everyone should don't, limit yourself to say, well, I don't have a master's, so I'm not going to apply, or I don't have 5 years of experience, or just if you're interested in the work, if you want to learn, if you have the right attitude, you will get somewhere. So that's what I believe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roberto and Ms. McFadden. And now we in Taiwan know that if we are considering going into the IT field in Belize, there are jobs available in our field. And this makes me happy, and I'm sure that whoever is viewing here in Taiwan or in Belize can now have that confidence that there are jobs available in this field. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Lionel, because I remember you shared in the past with us that you transitioned from like a lower level of teaching to high school, and now you're going into university teaching. For you in Taiwan, what were the challenges that you faced, being that you are a foreigner and maybe there was some Chinese qualification required? Or what are the key things that those of us in IT field should consider when we're going to apply for jobs in Taiwan?
Okay. Yes. Well, usually when we are here, right, as Belizeans, we have the English speaking, um, I would say plus, right, in the sense that we can communicate more than other, more eloquent and stuff like that. So we tend to kind of, do some teaching part-time, which actually is very beneficial to us. So I began like that during my university years. Then I applied to a private high school in Taipei, where I got the opportunity to teach for 3 years, right? And then in the case of getting an opportunity to teach at the university, it was a matter of, like I said, right? Um, we always say there is good luck, but in my opinion, I believe it's being prepared for what Ms. McFadden said, right? You have to kind of apply, and then maybe your profile might fit what they need, right? You see? So I had the opportunity to invest in myself because I believe that you should invest in yourself every day, right? There are many courses online that you can do, very cheap and even free. And if you have the time, you sit and you do at least 4 hours of it and you finish it. And this knowledge that is being gathered. And then when that opportunity comes along, then and you put in your application form, then you might get the opportunity, right? And you might say, wow, is it the right time or, the right place? So I always believe that you should do that. Always try to improve yourself every day, right? Get up to date with technology, right? And that's what I did. Actually, I completed a nine-month program in AI and machine learning, data science and business analytics. And with that, it actually complemented my my doctorate degree. And that's what the university was looking for. And especially the AI and the machine learning part. And they offered me the opportunity to, you know, to apply to do my interview, my demo. As you all know, here in Taiwan, it's not just about just getting into the position. You have to go through a lot of process, right, to be actually approved to get into the job, right? So it took me for almost a year to actually get into this job, right? So just to tell you how it is actually, right? So, but I'm just trying to lay the ground that once you invest in yourself and the opportunity is out there, you will get the opportunity, right? You will get the chance to join that institution or that company. And that's how I managed to get into university now. I wasn't really thinking that I would be teaching in Taiwan at the university level, but I believe, that what our previous panels were saying, that you just apply, and if you have the requirements, you will get an opportunity. And that's my take on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your responses. I believe we have another question here from our audience. Dr. Estefan?
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. My question has to do with the education system, and I'm talking about the primary and secondary level, both in Belize as well as Taiwan. I remember when I went to school, we were learning to type in the primary school level, but I remember one of my cousins, her daughter was learning to code at 8 years of age in Belize. So I was quite impressed to see that that's being embedded into that school's curriculum. So first, I'd open the floor to the panelists that are in Belize. How do you feel that the education system is adapting to the ever-changing and evolving IT community? Do you feel like we're doing enough in terms of keeping up? Or what recommendations would you give to improve that? Thank you.
It's quiet in here. uh, I've sat on a couple committees that have had similar discussion on the educational system in Belize. I myself am surrounded by teachers. My mom was a teacher, my sisters are teacher, my wife is a teacher. So education is primary, is vital. And what we've learned here is that, and what we learn every day is that you need to apply from a young age. Right now, we know that the millennials or the youngsters, or however you want to call it, everybody goes to online stuff. I was listening today to a chat. Um, they say if you want to go buy something and you send a young person to buy it, what would be the first thing they do? They go online. You send an old folk like me, I want to go to the shop. you know, that is where we're used to. So yes, we need this type of education to start from not really primary, but even before that. I know Sito has worked on teaching coding to infants, to primary school. I know that the curriculum is now being modified to include a lot of technical work and education. So I think we are heading in the right direction. We might not be going as fast as our neighbors, but indeed, I think we have moved, we have realized that it is needed and we are not going to be left behind. Belize is going to move ahead. And I think, yes, it has to start from being young, from the youngsters, from the kids, because, man, my daughter, she has a phone from, uh, she has an even better phone than I do. She knows to do things that I don't even have time to do, because that's what they do. They sit, they learn, they get, they're inquisitive, and they're learning, and we're staying behind the older folks. So it is needed, it is being looked at, and I think even though we're going a little bit slow, we're still moving ahead.
Okay,
Like
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
As Mr. John has said also, I see there's a lot of change from when I went to school versus students now. We didn't learn type. We had a computer lab, and that was like upper standard 5 and standard 6. Then in high school, I learned typing with the typewriters. And then it just progressed that those typewriters are gone. And next time I visited the school, they're using laptops. And so like I somewhat get a bit jealous, like why did they do this when I was there, like, but I like it because it shows that we're changing. And you might think that, okay, it's the same way since I've been there, but until you experience it, it's different. So everyone's adapting, even if it's slowly. It's very helpful. I've seen they had some coding camps that um are targeted for girls or just students. They're not limiting you to when you could start. You could just come if you're interested. Come, you could learn to do something small, a little summer program, and then they have now the BHS and their robotics team that they're doing all of that. We never thought of these things like that Belize would be doing it this time, right? But when they did all of that, we're like, we see that everything's changing, and even though we think it's slow, it's still happening, and it's sparking interest in other kids and everyone to, look at it. Everything's moving in Belize. We're moving towards technology. We're changing slowly, and the technology, although parents may see it as, oh, they just want to be on social media and wasting time, the kids are learning things that the parents don't even know, and they can then teach the parents or the older folks to do things. And so they will surprise you, as kids always do, but in a sense that this will be very helpful for you later on, and then you feel more safe knowing that, hey, I know, oh, my phone is broken, call my niece, call my nephew, call somebody. There's somebody always to help you in the family, which was me. So I know that it's happening and it's good, even though we feel slow. Any change in that way is a good change. So even if there's not a lot of schools doing it and we're starting in high school, but we'll eventually progress, and everything will be fine, and we'll catch up to all of those other countries that are doing the same thing. So I think we're good as how we are now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I go to my question, I believe we have one more here on the floor. Mr. Koya, can I give the floor to you?
Yes, thank you very much. My question is for the three panelists. I mean, the ones in Belize mostly. Sorry, Mr. Dale, I know. How would you tie information technology when it comes to, for example, like I'm from a health background. Lately, we had a program set up at the Northern Regional Hospital with imaging, with the X-ray department being digitalized. How do you guys play a role when it comes to working along with the Ministry of Health and other governments? Why I'm asking this is that just in an event we have students here that are actually thinking of other fields. How would you connect it? How would you connect your departments with the other departments or the other government departments? I don't know I'm clear.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Clear enough. Thank you very much for the question. Um, One of the key areas that our department is looking at is the sharing of data with all departments. this will give a better service to the clients. For example, Belize is in need of a national ID system. We have various systems or departments that require or that give out an ID card, but none, it's not consolidated, it's not unique. We have to be, it gives, there's a big margin of fraud that can be done because of things like these. A national ID would be something unique, would create a number from birth to death. And it will allow you to be known through that ID. You would gain services easier. You would not have the need to be duplicating, replicating, getting different certificates from different areas. But for that to happen, you need to be able to share your data. You need to have all systems talking to each other, the health and wellness, the labor system, the immigration system. All of these need to be at a certain level where they can interact and share the necessary information to give a better service to our citizens. So indeed, even though we might be in eGov, we are looking at the different departments and seeing how best we can assist them with bringing them to that level where they can share their data, where they can give that better service, more efficient, more secure, and overall better to the citizens of our country.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question is geared to Mr. Neil. Mr. Neil, I know you have had various projects while being a student, and for maybe Belizeans that are currently thinking about coming to Taiwan or that are here, can you share some of those projects or opportunities and internships that you've done? Are they school specific? Are they provided strictly by your school? Are these projects open to different universities, or is it something you find independently, or how are they funded, etc.?
All right. Thank you for the question. That's a really good one. So I got to think about that for a couple of seconds. So the two projects that I worked on, the first one was sort of like on the school website, where it was called OpenCV. So what Microsoft would do is that they would, send their new idea, what they're creating, to different universities throughout the world, and they would ask you to like come up with your plan. What would you do with this camera? And so basically, that's where I came in and I designed an outline what we can do with it, which was object detection and counting people at the same time in an open door area, which is very difficult to do because you have to enhance the camera in terms of like the background. So there's no white background, it's open. And that's the first project we did. We built a small robot and we called it Tiffany. Yeah, with AI in the middle. So that was one of our first project that I did, and there's different stages that you would get to, and I think we were one of the two teams in Taiwan that got to stage 4, but we couldn't get to stage 5, which meaning that your project that's it, it's over. However, it was an interesting time when we did it. We did it in 2020, which COVID was kicking in. It was really difficult to move around. So this is where the part came in where I had my background in terms of a little bit of software and robotics because I did that at my previous job also. And we both had to connect it. One guy is an hour away from my house and I'm at home and we're just using our cameras to connect and build this device. He has his own and I have my own. And it was a great experience just doing it online because we couldn't move around in Taiwan. However, it did still work out. Eventually we could move around a little bit and we tested it and it worked. And that was the end of that one. However, we decided to continue looking at what the school has to offer. And eventually, that's where I bridged from one of the project that I started with, because we had the code saved up. And I worked on, it's called My Yogi. It's a website, and I'll go a little bit deeper into that, where we contacted a yoga instructor and we asked her to help us out. We needed about 250 yoga images and we processed that through an algorithm and we connected with, I'm going to try to move away from these technical terms, but we used an API called the Bose Place Estimation, where instead of detecting a 2D pose of your body, it does a 3D. So you can turn around, you can move, and it's still detecting your body. And we mapped out 18 points on the human body. There's more, but that's all we could do because that's all we had. And that's how we moved from that camera using pose detection to connect it to the 3D posed API that we had. And we, instead of putting it on an app, which is really difficult because of AI, there's a lot of process in that, we put it on a website. So it's a web application. And it's actually live right now. So you can hook up online, you can practice yoga at home. There's only 5 sequences. The reason being is that as sort of like one of the guy on our team, he's a kind of like a hacker. So we hack the system so we don't have to pay money to host it. So we're only using like 30 US dollars a year to host it. So, I mean, that's part of studying, right? I mean, it's open there. It's everyone does it, but we don't have the resources. And from that project, I've actually, in terms of working together with a team, you understand what are the consequences, the issues you run into. And then we moved into joining different competitions where we recently won, what was 2 weeks ago, I won one. It's in New Tolio. There's like at least 100 competitors in different categories. And I came in second. And that same day, yeah, that same weekend that I was there, we got an award that we're going to Silicon Valley um, this year. So when it comes to connecting students and the university, I think you have to look around. You have to look at the people that you're with. There's a lot that some schools offer. I'm really happy that my school has a lot of different areas that you can develop yourself. You can connect with different teams, your classmates. Nick, shout out to Nick. He's in the US. He's a really good teammate of mine. I have Luis also, Valor, and another guy from Paraguay, Andres. So we connected just basically being in class and learning how to work with each other and sharing ideas. I never did an internship in Taiwan per se, but I worked like just after my master's degree, I went straight into work. But yeah, like I said, my university has a lot of those tech stuff. If you're into it, it's offered there. However, the system is a little bit different as a foreigner. So that might be a little bit of a struggle, but however, there's different offices that you can look around and they're gonna help you out. So stemming from building Tiffany to now jumping to my yoga, which in with a 3-year period of time is sort of like you develop a lot of connection in terms of working with people, understanding where technology can go wrong, finding smart hacking ways to deal with it. And that's actually what most people do. If you're in university to, again, cut costs, develop your own style of how you want your project to work. And I think the last part is just understanding the people that you're working with in terms of that. So, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we wrap up the segment, I believe we have one more question. Ms. Wagner?
Yes, my question was more towards Mr. Neil. I wanted him to elaborate a bit more about his work experience here in Taiwan. How did he find the job? And what are some of the cultural nuances that he had to navigate while working in that organization?
Ugh, all right, that's another good one. So 4 years at Via Technologies. The company has about, I think, 2,000 plus workers or more. There's only 10 foreigners. My boss was a foreigner, so it was a little bit easier for me to move around. However, he saw the potential where I'm very tech savvy, so he moved me with the engineers. So from the marketing department straight to the engineering department. And that's where the cultural shock would show up from time to time. But it wasn't something that I couldn't deal with because I sort of like start learning how to speak Chinese a little bit, little by little, little by little. So if you can connect with the language, it will help you a lot. But of course, there's the differences in terms of having a foreign boss and having a Taiwanese boss. It might differ a little bit. So my boss was pretty relaxed in terms of what my project was about. Of course, he's serious what I'm doing. But when it comes to the Taiwanese traditional boss, they have their own style of doing it. And whenever I would approach a Taiwanese boss, I would make sure I have all my details intact, have all my questions that I need to ask. He also has his question he want to ask, and we move from there. When it comes to basic stuff like the simple stuff, let's start making coffee for each other, tea, going for lunch. So that's where I would try to speak in Chinese and try to connect with them one-on-one. And basically, that's what most of my Taiwanese colleagues liked about me, because I could speak a little bit of Chinese, just enough for them to ask, hey, what do you want to eat? What do you want to drink? And then when it comes to work, I would always tell them, can you help me out with this? But can you tell me in Chinese so I can understand more? So whenever there's a new project, I have an idea what to do next. But I think try your best to blend in and at least get an understanding of the language helps a lot to move forward, especially if you're working with a group of engineers, because most of them don't really, they do speak English, but they would prefer you to speak a little bit of Chinese. That helps a lot. So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah. Yes, I believe Miss Williams has a question. No, you don't? Okay. I think she was just looking into like how to compare and contrast the work environment. I don't know if you have experience working in Belize, what differences I think you elaborated on some, but she wanted to talk more about what happens in Belize in terms of your field, or I don't know if you have a background working in Belize in IT, but.
Not in IT, but I work back home, but it's completely different, of course. Like working with Belizeans, it's your culture. It's really easy to follow. You understand people right away. While with Taiwan, there's like that. How do I move forward? Do I tell him directly? Do I wait until we're having coffee or tea? So there's those moments where you're like, you got to wait for it. And I do my best to be respectful in that sense, where if someone doesn't know what to say, I would tell them, can you just say it in Chinese? Sometimes they wouldn't say directly to your face because they're either shy, or there's a problem with the product, or something went wrong, or there's a bug in the system. And there's multiple examples where it would, my boss would find out, and sometimes my boss would get a little bit upset, but he would sort of like be like, can you figure it out? And that's where I would use my Chinese and try to communicate and be like, here's the problem, this is what we need to do, this is how we get it done, and move over from there. But sometimes in the working environment, and you'll only pick this up if you start working with most of the Taiwanese, is that sometimes they're not so direct, but there's ways of dealing with it. So one way I would deal with is I would go make tea, and then we would chat a little bit, and we'd be like, oh, you remember that? Or like, yeah, so what happened there? And then we move on. Sort of like that. You have to find your ways of getting around, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe we have a question at our Kunshan location. You can go ahead and ask the question. Those in Kunshan, you can go ahead and ask the question. Okay, in that case, I think I'll just open the floor to our panelists. Is there anything else you would like to add that we had not covered, or that you would like to mention before we end the segment? And this is open to all the panelists. Okay, if not, thank you very
Sorry,
much
can
for
you hear me
joining
now?
us. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The question is for Miss Bianca McFadden or Mr. Rabatu. For those who have a degree, master's in for example, mechanical engineering, and they are fascinated in IT field, and they know programming, they've taken programming courses, and they are really want to help build or go into the IT field but with a mechanical background. How would that be for them? Was it possible, or would you recommend having like other extra courses, for example?
Um, okay, good question. Um, Indeed, it sounds like you already have a set of skills that is required, which is the development part. Um, that is definitely required. In addition to that, it would be if you are interested in working with a team of developers, because using the agile and the Scrum teams, Scrum leader, etc., Scrum master, um, you will need to have other knowledge, but it can be shared with the people that are already in the field. Um, technically, I think Mr. Gonzalez mentioned it earlier. Um, you don't know everything, and once you come into a field or a position, you are open, or you should be open to learn from others, as well as share what you have with others. Once you do that and come in with that mentality, uh, you will you will gain, you will help your team, you will achieve your purpose, and you will move forward, and you will help your department, your surroundings, your heads, your colleagues to move ahead with you. So it is a nice feeling, just to share. But to your question, as with that mechanical background, indeed, I can see a couple courses that are free, can benefit also, and make you a full person for the job. But definitely, yes, you have a big part already that is required to be a developer, and which is coding.
Okay, thank you very much. And just a reminder to wrap up this segment to our viewers, as our panelists have mentioned, Belize is looking for software developers in both private and government entities, and this is both on the development and project management sectors. And as Mr. Neil mentioned, also in Taiwan, they are looking for more software developers as well. And like they all have mentioned, and Mr. Gonzalez has shown that even if you are within the IT department, it does not mean that you strictly work within a company. You can go into the education aspect of it or link other uh, programs or fields as well. Like Mr. Neil also mentioned that he started with management and then got into the IT field. So if you are thinking or considering what program to do next or where to go to further develop your professional life, I think this is a very helpful. Now you have more knowledge on how to do so. So I would like to thank our panelists for being with us today. Ms. McPherson, Mr. Rabatu, Mr. Gonzalez, and Mr. Neil, thank you very much for your responses and for imparting your knowledge with us today. And with that, we're going to end the IT panel, and I will hand over now to Dr. Estefan for the next segment.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo, and thank you once again to the panelists. It was a pleasure seeing you virtually and one delightful presence in person. On behalf of the steering committee and organizers, we're grateful for all the panelists, all the participants, all the sponsors. It would have not been possible with all of you present. And so for this closing session, we have prepared a couple of things for today and tomorrow. So I will be sharing some job finding tips in Taiwan with the crowd, and tomorrow one of our members will also be sharing some tips for Belize. So many people have asked, how has that transition been from education, from getting your graduate studies to transitioning into the workforce in Taiwan? Has it been easy? Is there a language barrier? What channels are available in Taiwan? So if I may just share a brief presentation on what are the opportunities. So if you're looking for job opportunities in Taiwan, here are some tips to help you in your search. So obviously, the first and foremost, you have to know the job market. So like anything in life, you will research before you get into any project, into any endeavor, before you even marry your partner. You want to research that this is going to be the right field or person for you. So knowing the job market will help you not only to focus your efforts, but to also know in which direction you can gear towards. For example, if Mr. Neil wanted to do some sort of AI technology in Belize, the job market may be a bit limited. However, you need to know your setting and your environment. Secondly, while English, as we've seen, is the commonly used international business language, having basic knowledge in Mandarin Chinese will enhance your job prospects in Taiwan. So I encourage everyone to try to learn a little bit of Chinese during your free time, using the excuse 我的中文不好 is no longer accepted as much. Networking is probably one of the most valued fields or aspects, not only in Taiwan, but also in Belize. It's who you know. So try to establish connections during your university career. As Mr. Wade had mentioned earlier, a lot of the opportunities that he had obtained was through his professors. Likewise, during my time at the university, my professor actually was the one who helped me obtain my job. Another thing that we have in Taiwan, which is quite useful, are the online job portals. So for example, in Taiwan, have you heard of the 104 Job Bank or also the 1111 Human Resource Bank? They have an updated database where they're constantly posting their job openings. And so these platforms allow you to not only filter by job listing, but also by location, industry, and job type. If you have an Instagram page, if you have a Facebook page, I would highly encourage you to develop your professional page as well. And LinkedIn would be that platform. So make sure you keep it updated. I know a lot of people have approached me about wanting a job in Taiwan, and I asked them if they have an updated LinkedIn profile. And unfortunately, this is one of the gaps. Here in Taiwan, you're going to be looked up via LinkedIn. When you meet someone at an event and they hear your name, the first thing they're going to do is type your name in LinkedIn. So I would encourage you to keep it updated. If you're participating in forums like the one today, be sure to share it because this gives your presence more sort of robustness. Lastly, a lot of companies, they have their own websites. So make sure if you're interested in a particular field, for example, we had the information technology segment, and we know Taiwanese companies like Asus and Acer, they have their websites as well. So be sure to check their pages directly, and you will always find a part of it where it says, grow your career or join us. And so that way you can directly see what job opportunities are there. And job fairs or forums like the one that you're in today also know what the requirements are in terms of work visa requirements. After you graduate, you can get what's called a job seeking ARC, which is valid for 6 months, and that can be renewed again after 6 months. And remember that finding a job takes time and effort. Stay persistent, tailor your applications to each position, and showcase your relevant skills and experience. And best of luck with your job search in Taiwan, Belize, or anywhere around the world. And for anyone that's interested, we have some pamphlets from Contact Taiwan. They actually do different events. So they do campus job fairs, career talks. They're also headhunters and recruiters. So please connect with them as well. And this is a very helpful tool. So with that, I'll hand over to my fellow steering committee members who are more than excited to share their experience with this career forum. So I'll hand over to Mr. Hector Cabranes.
Okay, hi, I am Hector, and firstly, want to apologize for the little bit of a mishap in the morning for the live. Something we didn't anticipate, as always with technology, but it got fixed, so now we're good to go again, and tomorrow we'll be back. As for me and my part, I found that being in Taiwan, one of the things that really brought me to where I am to get to know a lot of people as well was sports. I am not the fittest person in the world, but I don't play sports either. But thanks to Dale, also he told me, hey, we need to find a way to get the Belizeans together and manage the football team that we have for Copa America. And so passed the time and I took upon it and did it for 4 or 5 years. Unluckily, we don't have it anymore, but we're still talking between the leaders of the groups to see what can be done about that. The reason is because sports in Taiwan is also a big thing, and we have many Belizeans that have the capacity to play basketball, football, soccer, football, even rugby. I heard that some guys are in the rugby teams and they're going further into that. So for my part, I guess it's if you come as a student or even if you're working, find time to join these kind of sports events, and you'll be able to make connections and have things like these happen. Lastly, for this next 2 weeks, I think there is a basketball tournament. So if somebody is interested that is here in Belize, please contact us or look on the Belize Taiwan Association Facebook page. There is uh, a guy that is in charge of that. So, or yeah, he's actually here with us as well. So contact us and we will forward you the messages, and hopefully we get to win that tournament as well. 15,000, I think. Yeah, 15,000 is the price. So good luck to the guys that are playing. So, and girls, yeah, there are also girls. So that's what I have to offer, and I'll pass it on to Myra.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today on our very first Belize Taiwan Career Forum, which was, I have to give most of the credits to the originator of the idea, Miss Melody Wagner, who is the president of the BTA. She first came to me with that idea, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but we didn't delve deeper into it. We forgot, and then Lila came over to Melody, and she said, "Hey, this should be a great idea for us to be able to help Belizeans. How can we help them do that transition from student to professional worker? How can we help them to facilitate their entry into the workforce?" And so the girls started talking together, and then we formed this little group we called the steering committee, and here we are. It has become, Melody's dream has become a reality. So I'd like to please everyone in this room and everyone watching, please give a great applause to Melody. Yes. For me, it's a great pleasure to be able to highlight what Belizeans are doing for Belizeans, and that's why we use the hashtag Belizeans for Belizeans. If you ever want to use it, and it will come from this steering committee career forum. Use it and I hope that this forum has inspired you, at least for what has happened today, inspired you to keep asking questions. Please feel free to reach out to Belizeans, not only in Belize, but Belizeans in Taiwan, because trust us, we are here for you. We are here for you. And I know I have maybe no time left. It's already 12 p.m. But I'd like to share maybe 3 minutes of my experience working in Taiwan. Yes, I came to do a bachelor's degree via scholarship. I continued doing my master's degree in international affairs, paid for it myself. How did I pay for it? I became an English teacher, yes. And I have high respect for teachers because they work more than any other profession I know. And trust me, I'm working in an office setting. Okay, so I would like to say, thanks to being a teacher, I was able to pay for the last year of my master's degree. And I wanted to be able to give back to Taiwan. And how I did that was I continued teaching and I continued immersing myself in the Taiwanese culture. And just to address one of the questions that Melody had regarding how do you face that culture shock, like those, how do you navigate via those cultural nuances? It's not easy when you are the only foreigner in your district and you don't know where to go shopping, you don't know who to speak with throughout your day, all your friends are in other cities, you face some sort of depression, yes. It's the reality. We have to face it. But there are people who are willing to help you go through it. You just need to reach out. And then what I did, I taught for 3 years until 2019. And then I said, you know what? I don't tired of work. And my boyfriend at that time, he was like, it's okay, you don't have to work, I can maintain you. So of course I took advantage of that ARC 6 months looking for a job. And there came an opportunity where I was going to teach only 1 hour and a half every day. And the only reason I was teaching 1 hour and a half every day is so I could buy my coffee. And that was my story. And then I was one day one of the persons that I helped tutor the kids who now Amador has that job taken from me. Thanks, Amador. That lady said, you know what? Someone is looking for someone who can speak Spanish. So you guys out there, your language abilities, it doesn't have to be Chinese. It doesn't have to be you have to be proficient in Chinese. You're just brush up on your Creole and to make it into a proper English and use that Spanish ability if you have it, use it to your advantage. And that's what got me my first Taiwanese career. I will tell you, it's not easy. You are sitting among people who are not used to having conversations. You come into the office and you're like, good morning, everybody. And you start saying a little gossip. No, it's straight into facing your computer. You want to speak to your coworker who is right beside you, you are using the computer to chat to them. You are using the LOL or the little emoticons. The culture is different. It does take some adapting, but you can do it. It's up to you how much you're willing to accept. But now I can say I have a job which I got through. Laila, thanks for sharing that. This company found me via LinkedIn, and I wasn't looking for a job. They found me via LinkedIn. They saw everything I posted, and trust me, it doesn't say I have a, well, it does say I was valedictorian for bachelor's, I was valedictorian for master's. It does say that, but they weren't focused on that. And you will find that the things, just like Hector said, you build your connections via sporting. So for me, it was my personality. My job approached me because of my personality. And I'm now a global regulatory compliance researcher. If you want to know about that, more about that, you can check my LinkedIn profile. Yes, and so what helped me have I can say the best job I've ever had in the world is my personality. And I'm grateful that I can have a comfortable life living in Taiwan with an APRC. I can share that more if you have any questions, but not today. Yes, so tomorrow, I want to implore everyone, feel free, just like we did with the last segment, raise your questions, because that's what we created this career forum for, you to raise your questions to the panelists. That's why we brought them together, so you can ask all the questions you have. Please join us tomorrow from 8 p.m. Taiwan time to 12 p.m. Sorry, I went over 6 minutes. And in Belize, please join us 6 p.m. your Saturday evening to 10 p.m. Is that it? Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your time and for your participation in this wonderful first ever Belize Taiwan Career Forum. Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you very much to the coordinators for this event. Thank you very much to our viewers for joining us online. If you are watching on the live streams on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, thank you very much for joining us from Belize or Taiwan. Tomorrow, we encourage you to join us again and think of your questions. Tomorrow, we will be having the engineering, business and education panels. So please look over the pages to see who our panelists are and start thinking of your questions. Today was introduction, and you can see how the sessions work and what type of questions they're able to answer, or even if they didn't answer a question you had today, you can also still pose your questions to the pages and we will send them over to the panelists and get back to you after as well. And with that, we're going to end today's forum and we will see you bright and early or in the evening back in Belize tomorrow. Have a good night and good day. Bye-bye.